All right, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Call the meeting to order of February Board of Selectmen, February 13th, 2018 at 5:30. We have some posted business to take care of, as well as we'll be meeting with the Finance Committee to begin budget reviews with some various departments. So we'll be doing that at 6:30, so in roughly an hour or so. Under announcements, I just wanted to let people know, if you weren't already, that the 350th birthday celebration committee, as I refer to them, for the town of Hatfield is holding a logo contest, and that the forms to complete, if anyone is interested in participating in that, are available in the town clerk's office, I believe, as well as on our website. I neglected to, and I apologize to the 350th committee, bring the website address with me, because they also have it on theirs. We'll have it at the next meeting, and I'm sure there's links on our town website, but they have a few different pages going. So we'll make sure to remind people what those are at our next meeting. Any other announcements?
Smith Academy Park's been started, so don't be alarmed if you see some trees cut down. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else for announcements? Okay. Is there anybody here for public forum? Because this will be the only opportunity to speak to the Board of Selectmen this evening from the floor. So if anybody's here for public forum, please feel free to come forward and state your name and make your comments. No? Okay. All right. Thank you. Approval of the minutes by the Board of Selectmen for January 9th. Is there a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for January 9th, 2018 meeting.
Okay, motion's made. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the January 9th, 2018 Board of Selectmen minutes. Is there any discussion, adds, corrections? All set? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you very much. Our first item of posted business is we have Mark Gillott here and Peter as well from the Open Space Committee. I'll turn it over to you guys for your comments.
I have a handout to give you all, which might help in our presentation.
Okay.
Which is a map.
You do great handouts, Mark. Colors, the whole bit.
I was just
Thank you
telling-
very
I was
much.
just telling you.
Makes,
Yeah.
no offense to you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay.
So the reason that that Peter and I are here from the Open Space Committee
Yes.
today is to ask the Board of Selectmen for their vote of support or permission, actually, for us to access what is called the CPA Open Space Conservation Fund. So you might not even, as a board, this was established before any of you were on the board, so you might even not know what it is. But it was established, I think, in 2011, and it's a separate account of the CPA fund, which presently holds, I think, a little less than $20,000, which is used specifically for what they call fast action projects that are they could seek CPA funding, very small projects, but can't wait for town meeting to occur. And these are things, and it's pretty much prescribed to just a few items like appraisals, surveys, help with grant writing, small things such as that. So they wouldn't be big CPA projects, but small things so that we could, for instance, meet a deadline for a grant application.
Okay.
In this case, you're looking at a map of that little orange parcel there, which is called the White Rock parcel. So last year in town meeting, there was a vote for an article which passed, for which the owner of this parcel was going to donate an easement, a trail easement to the town of Hatfield, to make public access to the White Rock parcel. When part of that was to also donate a conservation restriction So we were in the process of writing the language for the conservation restriction, and part of that requirement is that there be a description of the property that has dimensions on it. Now, the current deed for the property does not have any dimensions. It just refers to, you know, the tree, it's bounded by a tree on this side, and the person who owned the parcel on that side, and the bottom of the hill on this side, you know. So the description of the parcel is very generic.
Sure.
So we need a survey. And so then we're coming to you to say that we would like to go to the CPA Fast Action Fund for $4,000 to have a survey on this parcel. There is a possibility we can get a grant to fund the entire survey, and that may happen in the next month or two. We're in the process of applying for that grant. It's a Nature Conservancy grant. But if it doesn't come through, we would need to be able to use this Fast Action Fund so we can complete the CR, the conservation restriction, so that we can have access to build a trail on this property. So that is the summary of why we're here.
Okay. And so the process is to come before the Board of Selectmen first, and then
And we go to
with
the
our
CP
blessing, then you would go to CPA and follow
Exactly,
that process.
exactly,
Okay.
yes.
And would this still ultimately need to be voted upon at town meeting in May?
No,
Or
it
is it
would.
they
This could
actually
happen-
give you the
This could happen at
funds?
the next CPC meeting.
Gotcha, okay. So the idea is to make the request of them, but in the meantime, research grants and just kind of have
Exactly.
both in the pipeline and see
Right.
how it shakes out?
There's also a possibility that the owner may be willing to donate something for this as well, and there are other possibilities as well for funding
Okay.
parts of this.
All right, great.
Yep.
I certainly think it's a great idea. I have no problem with it whatsoever. I don't know if Ed or Cindy have any questions of Mark or Peter, or?
No, I don't.
No, we've already discussed this prior, and I think it's a nice project, and I thank you for continuing to support it, so, and I support it, so.
Thanks.
Okay.
So, do we need to make a motion?
We should
then?
probably need an
Yeah.
It
official
would be
vote.
great, yes,
Yeah.
if you would.
All right.
I'll make a motion to allow them to get the 4,000 for their required survey, right?
That's right.
For the request to CPA.
Of the CPA, yes.
Okay.
second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
You're all set, Cindy? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Great project. Okay. Next piece of posted business is, we received yesterday a resignation from the town treasurer slash collector. Same person holds both elected positions right now. And that resignation is effective on Friday, February 16th, this Friday. Excuse me. And that resignation was submitted to the town clerk for acceptance. So really, I think we just need to have a conversation as to how we may want to move forward. I know the Finance Committee will be meeting with us later, but you know, I think we're in the midst of it's budget time. We've got some tax bills that are due to go out. We've got some receivables coming in with the excise tax that has those bills have already been sent out. Personally, for me, excuse me, at this point in time, and given the time frame and where we stand with some of the other concerns we've had with the town's fiscal year 2017 and 2018, I'd like to see us move forward and reach out to Bay State Municipal Accounting or someone along those lines and outsource those particular functions in the office to keep the ball rolling, hit the ground running as of Monday. We won't, as of Monday, we won't have an elected or an official collector or treasurer on board. So that's where I'm coming from. We haven't discussed this at all amongst ourselves since this,
Right.
We did a
relatively
couple, we did
new.
a couple meetings ago briefly.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but I mean, as far as having an official resignation in hand and
Right.
a date where we would actually have to make some some plans, so. I don't know if you guys want to jump in.
Well, I mean, as
or-
far as myself, I think we need to outsource for now until we come up with a plan, but I think if we do meet with, we've been doing business with Bay State, so for now, temporarily, this is urgent to get the tax bills out and get the office functioning, so I don't have a problem outsourcing, but I think we need to have a follow-up meeting soon to discuss further cause and effect and do some research, or either have Bay State come in and talk to us and see, you know, all the variables of funding and all that stuff. So yes, I think we should move forward in that direction, but meeting sooner than later, possibly. If we can meet under, I guess since this is urgent, it's sort of like an emergency. I don't know if we have to post it 48 hours in advance because of the situation. Because I think it's sort of urgent. I think maybe we can find out if when they can come in and we can discuss it. That's yeah, that's sort of my opinion.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if you had any comments.
Just opinion-wise, I agree on that. They're the ones that are knee-deep in this already.
Yeah.
I think they have
The
a great
history.
knowledge of what's going on with the town finances. As far as speaking to him, I don't know, have you had, Marlene, have you had any
I wasn't able
feedback
to
from
reach
them
him
to-
today. I did have a
Okay.
conversation with him yesterday, and he's glad to
If
sit
they're
down
willing
and
to
talk
do
with
it?
us. Yes, absolutely.
But I think they have a lot of the basic knowledge and have worked with the other people here. I think that would be our best choice for immediately. And then the other part about getting the tax bills out is really important.
Yeah, you know, along those lines, which I neglected to mention in the announcements, is thanks to the townspeople and the overwhelming support of making those balance transfers back last month, we were able to set the tax rate. We're ready to send out the tax bills. We have asked Senator Cocot's office to request a bill within the legislature to allow Hatfield, once the bills are set, to request the payment due in 30 days. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been due until May 1st. Representative Cocott and his aide Diana Zinal were all over it. The bill's been filed. We expect it to be brought up tomorrow, Wednesday. We expect it to pass, and we expect to then be able to start having the bills, have the treasurer collector's office and the assessor's office meld their information and then be able to start getting the bills printed and sent out with a due date on them. So the timing of this is somewhat of the essence to be able to stay on track with all that. So I agree with both Ed and Cindy that I think Bay State makes total sense at this point, since they are knee-deep in assisting us in both the accounting side and the treasurer collector side. Along those lines, on a go-forward basis, Ed, to your point, you know, this could be an opportunity for the town to look into a different way of filling the treasurer collector position, perhaps make it an appointed position, perhaps combine the position, as for years has been what's been advocated by the Department of Local Services and the DOR. Been brought up in the past to town meeting, hasn't gone over as that popular of a request. But just because something didn't fit previously doesn't mean we shouldn't, if it makes sense, bring it forward again to let the townspeople have a say on it and to have the discussion. So it's a little early for that because that's a town meeting type of article, but I'm just throwing it out there now to sort of lay the groundwork as we discuss with the Finance Committee how we want to move forward with those positions. So.
I mean, DOR does call Hatfield a little big town because even though we're a small town, we have a school system. We're dealing with like $12 million a year,
Yeah.
and we have the same responsibilities of paperwork and financial transactions, sort of like Northampton. So over the years, that's changed. There's more and more state requirements. There's more items that have the treasurer and the collector has to do, not like it was, 20 years ago. So I do agree we might have to look at other options of possibly outsourcing and seeing what's the best fit for the town. But of course, the bottom line is, it's up to the town to decide if they want to go that way.
Yep. And as I mentioned, that is down the road a little bit. I mean, we really have to address, tomorrow, Friday, Monday. So, but these other things are just, I just felt it was necessary for us to let people know that that we're going to continue to talk about a way forward with this. So, did either of you have anything else to add to that particular comment? Okay. Lydia?
As the town clerk,
Sure.
not as a citizen, are you giving any consideration to giving the town clerk a notice to get this on the ballot for the May annual town election? As it is currently an elected position?
Correct, it is. We actually have, I've requested, and my colleagues may have separately done the same thing. So I think we will do that. I think we have to do that, right? I mean, it's an elected position. And then what we're trying to verify is barring what happens at town meeting as far as which happens before the election.
Right.
But I guess I would say, and we haven't discussed it amongst ourselves, Lydia, I would say that because currently it's an elected position, I don't know how we can't put it out there.
Because the way I think is if you don't get it on the annual,
You're right.
then we're talking about a special
Yes.
and another $3,500.
Yeah, no,
in costs.
we would be, I would suggest that we would be looking at having it on the annual, and it would be to fulfill the remaining 2 years of a 3-year term for each of those two positions.
Okay, I sent Marlene the deadline, which is really only gives.
March
I think
9th,
it was like
right?
March 9th,
Yep.
yeah. And so that, I have to advertise that the positions are available and get the word out. And people have to have their nomination papers back by March 27th. So that's a very short window to let people know. You call the Gazette, you call, and there's no guarantee when they're gonna get that news briefing.
Right.
It could be a week later.
Well, so I guess I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I guess my question is, not so much are we going to do that or are we going to support that? I don't know that we can't, right? I mean, anytime there's a resignation, you need to fill
I have
those.
to check with town council. I mean, it
Well,
says the
that's who we
selectmen-
already have a call
It
into.
says the selectmen may call a special election, because the law kind of
That's true.
figures this.
But we're not
happens-
doing that.
We're not,
Right,
yeah.
right.
We're not doing
I
that.
want to try to,
So I guess my point is, if an elected position, whatever the position is, is whoever holds it resigns.
well, yeah, and there are
The-
two
the-
different laws that apply to
You-
different elected
Right,
positions.
right. And because we're kind of over the halfway point, as I like to call it, it's February and the election's in May, right? I would think that we would have to, because that's the current bylaw or the current setup of the town of Hatfield. So I would assume that we would have to have those two positions on the ballot in May would be the remainder of 2 years. But in the meantime, I'd like to see us bring forth something to the town meeting regarding the combination of the two. They are two separate seats. People need to realize that too.
Right, it's just
Held by
I
the same
can't
person.
do a thing until the selectmen notify the town clerk that they're calling for an election for these two positions.
Understood.
So that's.
But I guess my question to you is, not to keep going, but how can we not, why, I think we just have to do that. I don't think it's a choice. We have to,
I don't think it's either. The only.
all right. So let's get
Little
clarification.
bit of question
Yeah.
is, the Board of Selectmen may call a special election.
I think that's if we were going to
So-
do it in January or
Yeah.
December because somebody left in October type
Right,
thing.
because
Which
when
is-
it's a special election, you have the option to wait till the annual thing.
Correct.
We ran into this with the two specials we had last year.
Correct.
So you have the option to do a special, or you just wait for the annual.
Right.
But
And
it-
so I think we're
And
waiting
It
for the
really
annual.
kind of is silent on,
Right, why don't we
So
do
I
this?
think
We
we got it.
we will ask, if you don't mind, Marlene, you and I had this
Yeah.
conversation the other day. So we'll just, we've had other questions of the town council in the meantime. But we'll just get that so Lydia can get rolling with that. But my assumption would be that the way the town government is set up right now, both those positions will need to be on the ballot at this point.
that's
I don't know how they
what
can't be.
that's how I'm.
Because, right,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay.
so,
Yeah, Sean?
And that may be the case, but I would encourage us to really explore that with town council and make sure they look into it well, because the reality is, we know that some of these changes need to happen, and as appointed or elected officials, there are some moves that we're going to have to take to show leadership with these changes. And so if that is choosing to have a special election after town meeting, with the plan being that at town meeting this will change, and that's legal, if in fact that's legal, we have to check with town council, then maybe that's the way to go, because I'm concerned that with an election happening, it's gonna be much harder to get some of the reforms that we're going to talk later tonight about through, because you're gonna have everyone campaigning for those positions currently, and so they're gonna be actively encouraging their supporters, obviously, to come to town meeting, as they should, and so it's really gonna skew the vote potentially. So I think that could be a consideration if, of course, it fits within the
Right.
bylaws.
All right, I guess the only thing I would say is a special election for that would be something that happens prior to the next annual town meeting. So it's not like we could hold off on those positions until, July. I'm just making up a date. If that was what you were trying to,
That's what I'm trying to go for.
Yeah.
We're sure that there's no way you could do that.
next election, yeah. The special is only to bring it in, not to push it beyond. Okay, so, Lydia, did you have any? So we'll just verify with the town council. I think we're all probably saying the same thing, though, which is we believe that, given current town government, that's what we'll need to do. Okay, all right. But having said that, I would just encourage my colleagues and the townspeople that shouldn't sway the way forward that we think collectively is the best for the town of Hatfield. And whether that's combining, appointing, electing, whatever it is, it's up to the folks. But one isn't going to preclude the
We're
other.
going to have another meeting before the 28th?
Yes, before the what?
The 28th of February?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But we will have an answer. You actually need an affirmative vote. All right, yeah, well, we are going to have a meeting before then.
I
but-
believe it's the 27th.
Yeah. We're calling it, cutting it close, but we are having one. But the good news is we're going to have an answer, right? We're going to have to follow what the legal opinion is
Right,
for,
yeah.
so, but I know
Actually,
I know you need the
The next
official
meeting
vote.
is Wednesday, February 28th.
Okay.
So the 27th? Before the budget?
So is the 28th your drop dead date for something?
No, March, no, it's posted here. It's
Oh,
your
you
next
just didn't
meeting
know.
is Wednesday,
Oh,
February
oh.
28th.
Right.
So it's
We
just
are
asking-
You just wanted to know if I was
that
looking
night.
down and reading my
I was
notes?
just
Okay.
asking if you were having one before that,
Oh.
I'm just,
But under the circumstances, I thought
we
we
need
might
to,
be
we will.
meeting earlier.
Right, if we need to, we will.
yeah, I just need to crank out the
Understood.
paperwork.
Yep, okay. If we have to, we can have one next week, okay? I'll save you a week anyways. Thank you, Lydia. Okay. All right. Under the DPW report, Phil had just kind of given us a
Oh, we did?
up to the
Oh,
moment.
okay.
Did I skip
I
something?
didn't realize he had done that.
Oh, he submitted
I
a-
have the number here.
Yep,
How much is
okay.
in deficit?
Sure,
It's $30,638.
right, for the snow and ice
Ice
to date.
budget,
Through February 4th, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. We've asked that we just get our monthly or bi-monthly reports, so, just so we're aware of that. Also, under the DPW, we had originally had a grievance filed by one of the union members, but that's been resolved, so it's no action at this point from our agenda.
Right.
Okay.
Action required.
Marlene, we're up to topic number
Okay.
6.
So
which is
just
the town
an update
administrator.
on the fiscal year 17 reconciliation process.
Yep.
And again, that's July 1, 2016 through June 30th of 2017. The accountant continues to work on the unapplied revenue. August and September, there are some outstanding items from the treasurer's office that he is waiting for. October, there are some cherry sheet figures that he needs to verify. And as of yesterday, he had completed October and November. And,
So, excuse me, so when we say completed, it sounds like a couple of
well,
those
I'm
ones
sorry,
still
I
have
don't mean
some.
completed. There are some outstanding
Okay.
issues for October and November that have been forwarded to the treasurer's office. So he hasn't closed out those months. He's waiting.
So
He's completed his review.
I was going to say, the larger review or overview has taken place. This is
Right.
what we need some
He needs
clarification
to do-
on?
Yes.
Okay,
He's looking for supporting documentation.
Okay.
Yes.
all right.
Any other questions on 17?
Not,
Okay.
not at this, I don't have any at this moment. I don't know if Ed.
No, I just think when we talk with Bay State, we gotta try to figure out how to get help on this too. Just-
Well, and we had a finance management team meeting last week. Terry Williams, our DOR rep, was on site for that meeting. And he encouraged us to speed things along. And he is reporting back to his supervisor, Deb Wagner, in the Springfield office. And I know that Mary Jane Handy is still monitoring the activity. And actually, I have been informed by Terry Williams, that he will attend this week's meeting, and Deb Wagner will be here as well,
Oh, yeah. This
So-
Thursday?
this Thursday.
And if we bring on Bay State to do the office stuff, we gotta include all these items that have to get done, right? So,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. So we also received notification from DOR regarding Schedule A.
Yeah.
That was brought up at our
Yep.
conference meeting with them. I replied to Mary Jane Handy via email yesterday, acknowledging receipt of the notification, and that the accountant and Bay State Municipal Accounting Group continue to review the unapplied revenues. And I did not specify a date as to when we expect to close on that.
These, just for people that may not be aware, or just to update those of you that are, what Marlene's referring to are some of the topics that the Finance Committee Chair and myself, when we had to go to Worcester and meet with DOR representatives, the names, Deb Wagner, Mary Jane, and others. These were some of the action items that were given to us, and they are willing to assist. Their local rep, which is Terry Williams, that Marlene alluded to, has been out here the last couple Thursdays. Will be here again this Thursday with the local area representative. So I don't know if it's his boss, but it doesn't matter. So they have a vested interest in having us succeed. We have a vested interest in having us succeed, and we continue to move forward and take whatever actions we need to succeed. The good news is they're coming out here with us and our team, financial team, to offer assistance and guidelines and guidance. Once again, they regard our consultant very highly. He has a very good reputation within the Department of Revenue, and so when he tells them that we're at this level, or we can expect to be at this level by a certain time, they take that to heart and have faith and trust that, in fact, we will meet those goals and those guidelines. So I just wanted to put that out there. Any questions or comments on Marlene's?
No, with Bay State, we gotta we gotta let them know the deadlines and some of the stuff, right? And we gotta meet the deadlines and figure out how to meet those deadlines. Especially with our financial reconciliations and everything else, that's all. That's important.
It is.
It is, but they're already involved with the DOR on our behalf already, so I think they probably know him before we do even.
Yeah. With the Department of Revenue and Bay State and our team and Marlene, the dates that have been discussed are legitimate goals and legitimate dates, because they know what really, what appears to be something you should be able to hit on paper, once you start digging into it and they've got the experience and the background to know you could hit, a little snag here and there. So the dates we're providing them now are very legitimate and those are the expectations that we need to meet.
That's right.
All right. All right, thank you. I'm sorry, anything else on that? Okay. The cherry sheet figures. Did we get?
Well, I just wanted
A little
to
something.
report, I had attended, I was invited to attend
The superintendent?
Western Mass Superintendent's Roundtable discussion last week, or actually 2 weeks ago. And Eileen McEnany, who's the president of the Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation, was the speaker, and I have attended those meetings in the past, and she does an excellent job. But she had just reported that, fiscal year 18 budget, right from the start, they had to reduce expected tax revenues and cuts to cover an $837 million gap, and they were able to do that. To date, tax collections are strong, and fiscal year 18 outlook has improved since the beginning of the fiscal year. The governor did release his proposed budget for fiscal year 19, and I've provided his proposed budget, and, there are some, I think it's about a 3.5% increase in
Right.
local aid. Yeah.
Excuse me.
And there will be some challenges with fiscal year 19, and they will work through those. Any questions on that?
No, the superintendent, who you actually attended that
I was
with,
his
with
guest.
Superintendent Roberts, basically, we had a school committee meeting last night, reviewed this with the school committee and told them, you can tell you guys were at the same conference, because I heard that somewhere
was-
before. But it was the same thing, that, the short-term outlook's pretty good, but beyond that, seems a little, nobody's really sure because of the
Right, there's a
federal
lot of
government.
uncertainty, that was the
Yep,
key word
right.
used.
Yep.
I'd be glad to review the graphs in the handout that I provided you. It's interesting where, they're seeing spikes and increases, and that Mass Health continues to be.
Insurance is the.
Insurance is a problem.
Yep.
Very costly to the
Yep.
state.
And ultimately the towns, because you have to fund it.
Yes.
So, okay.
Did they say anything about why the veterans' benefits took such a hit? That seems to be. the one
Well,
that took
and
the
my
biggest hit of everything.
understanding is that's always for not the previous year, it's so I think it's 2 years prior, as Derek is here. Derek, that's not for the previous fiscal year, it's for the year before, based on, yes. So it wouldn't be based on 17, it would be based on 16.
16
Right, the number of
benefits.
There's been a lot of
benefits,
changes,
yes.
yeah. And,
And you'll find that when we go through our budget too, when we have our own veterans benefits.
We did have a big increase, though, in 17.
Yeah.
I saw them on warrants. And just the regional transit was the only one I had a question on.
I
Do you
have
have info on
actually,
that?
I saw that and I highlighted it because
Right.
that's the FRTA.
Right.
And when I saw that increase, which is a significant increase in my mind, I reached out to them because I had recalled having a conversation with them several months ago, because they have not, my understanding, what FRTA in the town agreed to along Route 5 has identifying those locations with a bus shelter
Right.
has not been completed. So I reached out to the
'Cause I don't
gentleman.
think there was anything yet.
Yeah, I reached out
Okay.
to them last week. I have not heard back from FRTA as of today. So yes, that's why I'm interested. I'm interested in
Yeah.
knowing why
Because I didn't
why
think there was
that
anything in
increased.
that. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. I hope to report on that at the next meeting.
On FRTA?
FRTA.
The status?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been going on a little bit while now. I mean,
Uh,
a couple years, I mean, it's been a couple years, right?
The
With whole
route-
Figuring out the stops and the getting the enclosures, whatever.
yes, and the enclosures have not been
Yeah.
No, there's
set up.
nothing, yeah.
And actually, last April, my understanding, everything was complete. I had finalized
Right, remember that.
the stops, the agreements with the medical facility and Danco. They were on board with with putting a pad down. That was a cost that FRTA was going to take care of, and nothing happened. So there was some miscommunication, and I asked them if we could improve the communication. So,
All right, thank you.
very much.
Next topic is a request for the Board of Selectmen to designate the Finance Committee special municipal employee status. This has come up for discussion or for review in my office previously. And in the past, the Board of Selectmen have voted to designate all boards and committees special municipal employee. But I talked with Lydia about that. She did not locate that on file in her office.
Locate
Locate a record of the Board of Selectmen voting previously.
for any, or just for
Years
the,
ago.
or just for the Finance Committee? For any of the other designations?
Right, all boards and committees.
Huh.
It was all boards and committees, I recall that.
Right.
Haven't been able to locate that, a record of that.
All right, are you able to just speak to, I mean, what the indication is by having any board as a special municipal employee designation versus not having them as part of a
If-
municipal designation?
Just referring to the handout that I provided you with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On page 6. Special municipal employees may generally act as agents before municipal agencies other than their own.
Yeah,
Municipal employees are considered special municipal employees if their municipal position is uncompensated, or they work for the municipality for less than 800 hours a year, or they hold a contract or position which allows for private employment during normal working hours. In this case, the Finance Committee is not compensated. And even though you're elected or appointed, even though you're not employed in a contract or compensated, you are considered an employee.
okay, so that's
of the
kind of what
town.
we're just trying to make it
Correct.
an official thing. Okay, all right. Does anybody have any other questions regarding that, or concerns?
No.
All right, how about a motion?
I'll make a motion that the board designate the Finance Committee a special employee.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded, is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Marlene.
You're welcome.
All right, in our packet, we have resignation from the Hatfield Police Department from Ryan Murphy. I understand that Officer Murphy has been employed in another community, therefore is resigning his position here. So we do need to...
Vote to accept his
Right, we do need to
resignation.
vote to accept his resignation, and Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept his resignation.
Okay, so the motion's been made to accept the resignation of Officer Ryan Murphy. I'm assuming that's effective immediately, if not last week type thing, right, Marlene? Okay, motion's been made, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any, motion's made and seconded, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ryan, good luck. All right. All right, topic number 7, the short-term cleaning and maintenance contract award. Just to get us through the remainder of this budget cycle, and to replace the current contracted service who has had some issues. So Marlene sent out requests for proposals, is that the right?
I solicited
Not-
quotes.
Quotes.
We were
not-
just
Not
looking
proposals,
for-
quotes. due
For
to-
service for 5 months.
Right.
So I solicited quotes
Okay.
to local services.
Okay,
And I received 3 written responses, which you have before you,
right,
from Leslie's Cleaning Service,
yeah,
Ellie Richards, and MAS Cleaning.
right, okay.
Leslie's,
Sorry, I was simply just going to say,
That's right.
and the request was made by you as the procurement officer under Mass
Yes.
Third Chapter, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30B.
and a copy of the specifications have been provided in your packet, and the
Okay.
instructions for submitting a quote.
Yep, okay,
MAS Cleaning was the low quote.
okay,
And as a result of the vendor being a relative of the DPW director, the DPW director has filed a 19B disclosure form. This was filed after the quotes were received.
This should have been filed before the quotes, right? So under section 19,
Yes.
he didn't file it properly, is that correct?
It should have been filed, he should have made disclosure sooner, yes.
well, if he knew who was applying, right?
Right, if he had a knowledge or an idea that his wife would be submitting a quote, he should have, he should have disclosed that and filed the form then.
And you talked to town council?
I consulted with town council
And
about
was
it.
there a comment or a comment or suggestion, a legal opinion, any of those?
Town council acknowledged that he should have filed it sooner. He should have made me aware prior to engaging in discussion regarding the specifications, that his wife would express an interest in submitting a quote. He recommended that the director file a 19B disclosure statement.
Yeah.
And that should have been done sooner.
Was there a 19B already on file?
There was, and that was dated in 2013. So town council asked that he file a current statement.
So that's why it
Which
came in
that's
afterwards?
what you have, yes, correct.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're,
Right. Well,
There was one on
and
file.
the previous disclosure said that he would only be processing invoices. In this
Right.
case, he did engage in discussion with the specifications.
okay,
And that was another reason for filing a current
an updated one.
19, right.
Now, because of all this that's happened, is that grounds to disallow his wife from getting the bid?
It is, accepting the 19B disclosure is at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen.
I think he should have known. We discussed with him prior, following proper procurement processes. And he is a department head, and he's held to a higher level, I think, as a department head, and he's done contracts and bidding, and I think he should have followed the right procedures. And I think, I would move up to the next bidder myself.
So my only concern is the clarification of the 19B that was already on file. So, I mean, I certainly hear where Ed's coming from, but, I don't know if people know they need to file the same thing multiple times.
Well, if it was for a different position, I would think that would be the reason you'd have to. This is a different position. It's not
Wasn't
a
a different
full-time.
position.
It's for a temporary 5-month situation.
Well, I think it's about the relationship of the town employee and a spouse, not whether it's a part-time or a full-time or whatever.
No, I'm saying this is a different position. The one it was filed for before was advertised differently.
For a
It was
cleaning
for different term. As I was saying, it was advertised differently. It was for a different term. It was for a different time.
I don't know.
And then now
where
several
it's
years
in.
without that employment has passed, and this is for a different position. So yes, I do think a lot of things happen between those periods of time. You're worried about being a marriages dissolve over the course of 3 years. And I do feel a different position you'd have to file, yes, to be completely transparent.
And whether our personal opinion does or doesn't agree with that, which is fine, my question is the legal aspect of it.
Well, you already asked her the legal
Right.
aspect. You
So
asked
that's
me
the
what I
leg-
felt.
That's the, well,
So I told
that's
you
the
what I
legal
felt.
So
So in 2013, he did file a disclosure statement, and it stated that his participation would include processing invoices
right,
at that time.
right, and which is why previously it was the service was under Tony. It was under a different person, as it is.
The supervision,
the super-
and the
right.
supervision was under the water superintendent.
All right. Oh, I just want to make sure we can have the conversation and have different opinions and move forward. That's all. I just want to, personal opinions are one thing and legal opinions are another. That's all. I mean, I don't know what the legality of these things are, so. But it's ultimately up to the board to, to make a decision or make a determination, so. And when we do this tonight, we've got to give, notice needs to go to the current contractor that they're done as of
Right.
whenever whoever's chosen, comes on board.
I'm comfortable giving the current contractor 2 weeks' notice.
Okay. Well, I think
Provided
the DPW director should do that. I mean, you certainly can, I just think that that's their role and responsibility, the facilities director, not yours. That would be how I would suggest it.
You said you're comfortable giving the contract to who?
I had said that when the chairman was just referring to the current
Okay.
vendor
All
and
right.
giving them
Once they're
notice,
done.
I was saying I would be comfortable to give them 2 weeks' notice.
think that's
But
fair,
he's saying it
2
should
weeks.
come from the facilities director.
Okay, okay. I just want to make
That's
sure
that's his.
I heard right,
That's his
that's
thing,
all.
he's a facilities guy, yeah.
And I just had another question, talking about legally. Legally, it doesn't have to be awarded to the lowest bidder, right? Doesn't the state say it needs to be best practice?
Correct. Most reasonable and who meets the specifications.
Thank you. There's someone in the audience.
Go ahead, Jane.
My question actually is, with the time frame on this, and I know you're hiring someone just temporarily,
Yep.
they will be cleaning the downstairs still, right?
Until,
Well, I realize, and because you said during renovation, it doesn't have to be cleaned, but if there's gonna be workers and that, and people in and out, it's still gonna have to be cleaned.
I never said it didn't need to be cleaned, if that's
No,
what you're
no,
referring
one of
to.
the-
Okay.
I didn't say you.
Okay.
I didn't say you.
No, it needs to be cleaned as long as people are down there using the facilities, of course, yeah, yeah. You're welcome. Okay. Somebody gonna make a motion? I mean, we're 4 months into the other contract being expired, so are you guys ready to make a recommendation?
Oh, I mean,
Somebody, I mean,
Absolutely.
I say we find out what Eli Richards, if they meet the qualifications, because they're the next lower bidder. MAS, he didn't file the things on time, he should have known. And I think legally, we have an option that because of him not filing correctly, we don't have to award the contract to MAS. We can go to the next one up on the list. That's just
is
my
that
opinion.
your motion?
I'll make that motion, yes.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion?
No,
All those in favor?
aye.
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 Okay. So we'll need to notify Phil to let the current contractor, well, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we figure out when the person awarded the bid can actually start? In case,
Okay.
you know what I mean, in case that's 3 weeks out or something like that. So
Okay.
I think 2 weeks is fair to give the current company. I think that's a good business practice. I don't know how Ed and Cindy feel about it.
Is today the end of the
Or a
month?
week and a half.
The end of the
and a
month,
mo-
if it's
yeah, what-
bi-monthly, maybe?
Whatever, just,
Is that easiest, do you think?
What's
The contracted monthly, right?
No, they're not, the
They're not.
current vendor is.
No,
The current
they're-
vendor
No, I mean,
does not
most
have
of
a
them,
contract.
any of these, because it says 5 months, so that would be monthly. So I'm thinking to the end of the month, so start being monthly, because that's about 2 weeks.
Sure. Yeah.
Or tell them the end of
Before it
next week.
starts.
It's a week and a half, and have the, if the current company
Through- yeah,
contracted can
through
start
next
on
week,
whatever the
okay.
week of, whatever the
All
date
right.
is. Whatever that Monday in the end of February is. 25th, maybe, 26th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Got a few minutes before we meet with the Board of the Finance Committee. Phase 2 Memorial Town Hall renovation update.
Yeah, just
Near and dear to all our hearts.
a quick update. I had heard from the architect, and we are preparing documents to put the construction phase out to bid.
Right.
And, but prior to doing that, they will be meeting with town officials.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as that meeting is set, I will notify everybody.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we definitely have to have some dates for the
Right.
COA.
They're just slightly 2 weeks behind. There was a lack in communication from the town regarding the water service. and
Right,
so that
coming
put
up and over, or down
Yeah.
and over. Okay.
So I did ask the question, though, if the 2 weeks has an impact on the construction schedule, and they said no.
No, okay,
So,
all right. Well, it'll be better if it be spring and less snow, hopefully, for Council on Aging. Okay. All right.
so as I said, I will advise you of that
If
date.
if you
when-
would, that would be good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Topic 9, review the property accountability policy.
Okay, so this policy was adopted by the Board of Selectmen in 2007, and I felt it was time to review it and make any changes. Previously, the policy under C, accountable property, that dollar amount was $500. And I had consulted with the accountant and looking at what we have for insurance deductibles. Our insurance deductible for most of them is $1,000. So we felt increasing that by $1,000 was reasonable. And throughout the policy, it does refer to inventory being provided to the town accountant and the town administrative assistant. That should probably be changed to town administrator. And at the bottom, the following items must always be inventoried regardless of purchase price. The accountant has recommended inserting that information. Laptop, computers, tablets, town-issued cell phones, cameras. If the board is in agreement with the revisions made, the board would vote to accept the amended version.
All right, so, yeah, so this is for the town-owned property.
Correct, it is.
Just to be clear, if anybody had a question or concern about that, okay.
Right.
No, I think it's fine. I don't know if Ed or Cindy have any questions or comments for you, Marlene?
So you said it was 2,000 you wanted to go to, is that right?
It's 1,500
And you want, and
under C, number
Right.
1.
I've got that.
It was 500.
Okay, so
We
that's the new
increased
note.
it
Okay.
by 1,000.
So basically, anything over 1,500, and as well as on the bottom, you've added those 4 items, which are
Yes.
regardless of what the purchase price was. Okay. Okay. Any other, well, is there a motion to accept the property accountability policy as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the property accountability policy as presented by the town administrator with the changes.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Well, our friends from the Finance Committee are here, and it's about 2 minutes ago. I don't know if any of these next couple of topics can be,
Topic
through
11,
without-
I was asking if we could defer that.
Okay.
The policies, the board
Yep.
had asked to begin reviewing
Yes.
the financial planning policies with the accountant and treasurer
Right.
collector.
Okay, so topic 11 was going to be deferred anyways.
Right.
Okay, why don't we ask John, if he doesn't mind, take a couple minutes and we'll let the finance committee assume the positions and we'll get on with our meeting with our different boards that we're going to meet with.
Okay.
Is that okay? John, you okay with that? Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to continue with with today's meeting, February 13th, combined meeting with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen, and we've got 5 different departments coming in to review the budgets, their budget proposal as we prepare to start putting the budget together for annual town meeting in May. So on the docket will be the library, the Council on Aging, the Board of Health, the Town Clerk, and the Redevelopment Authority. So, having said all that, first up is the library. Eliza's here to give us an overview of the budget submitted. So welcome, and thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know, Darryl, do we just, how do you want to, so all the,
Walk us through
all right.
Okay.
what you put down.
Yeah.
Let's start with, let's do the labor side, well, the employee side of it first, any changes?
Yep, there's no increases have been added to the hourly salaries. We've had a slight rise in usage, which just is demanding us to have some more staff at our busier times, and so there's just a slight increase in the number of staff hours per week, which leads to a total budget increase of $2,297.
Okay, so where?
And I'm just reading from the, I don't, do you guys have a summary with yours? You should, maybe it's on the last page.
Oh, it's on the
Yeah.
back. Okay,
Ah,
okay,
Yeah, so I was just reading from the summary.
mhm.
okay.
Nicely done, by the way.
Thank you.
Clear
And
and
then-
concise, and we appreciate that.
Oh, good.
So what happens, I mean, we essentially are going under the assumption that pretty much everyone's gonna be level funded going forward, and, I know, and you're gonna have to explain this again to me, but I'm pretty, I know that your budget has to increase a certain percentage in order for the town to, or you to receive the state grant? Can
Every
you
3 years, it has to average a 2.5% increase.
Okay,
But because we got more than 2.5 increases on previous years, we don't actually need a 2.5%
You don't
increase
need it.
this year because it's just the average of 3 years. So that's really not a concern.
Okay.
And I think it's actually a slight decrease or very close to level funded this year.
okay, because you made some cuts on the expense line to make up,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
May I ask you?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Betsy.
The total wage budget,
Oh, no, I guess it's, yeah, the
Is-
total wage budget
the
is.
difference is $4,295.
Mhm.
That seems different from the number you gave, which was $2,297.
Yeah, why is that different?
Well, does that reflect the overall reduction in the budget? Because I see your expense budget has a decrease
Oh, maybe that's the difference.
of about $3,000, no?
No, that
No,
page
something's
should-
wrong in the spreadsheet. And my apologies. I
that's
usually
okay.
check all of these
That's why
things so
we're all
carefully.
here.
Right.
Got to get
We'll
up.
work on it. So, has this increase in hours already occurred this past year?
Yeah, we supplement our hours a little bit with state aid money on an ongoing basis, and so it's sort of just a gradual thing where the library is getting much busier after school, and we're just trying to keep what we're spending close to what we're actually getting from the town, so we're not having to use too much from state aid money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the number of hours projected here, which is 37 hours a week for the assistant, is what's also currently happening?
It's pretty, yeah,
Okay.
it's not, it's what it's currently happening.
And I'm new to this, so I apologize for the questions, but.
Keep asking.
So when we look at this increase of $4,295, that's not gonna come from state aid, that's gonna come from our town budget. So this is not a level funded budget.
No, I didn't realize we were supposed to have a level funded budget.
Okay.
Somehow I missed that.
I'm not sure you were supposed to, but that's probably where we're gonna end up.
Okay.
So given to departments asked for level.
Okay, then I just wanna make sure I understand. Thank you.
So if I'm understanding your expense budget right, overall, you're only looking at about $1,100, $1,200 overall increase.
Yeah, because our expense budget went down, but the expense budget went down because,
$1,500.
yeah,
About $1,500 increase between the two.
I'm sorry, what was that?
oh,
Can
our
you finish your
expense, our
sentence?
expense budget went down because we had the temporary air conditioning fund line.
Right.
For $4,000. And then so I took that $4,000 out, and then I think I just did a very small increases in supplies, just because the cost of all of our supplies is rising. Things just keep getting more expensive. And then for a number of years, we had some grant money we could use to pay for ink, but that's all dried up. And so I had, for the past couple of years, I've been doing ink. And also, I feel like
No
ink
pun
is just.
intended.
I was gonna say that was pretty good.
The ink all dried up. Okay,
So
sorry.
for the past couple of years, I've been,
Gave me the opening. Sorry, Eliza.
No, it was brutal.
ink is becoming more expensive, so I've been taking some of it from like gift money and some of it
Sure.
from our technology
Yeah.
budget. And I was like, we should really have an ink budget line.
Right.
So I added that. And I
Into the
took a
office
little bit of it out of the technology budget, because we don't usually spend, the technology budget was set at $1,000, but,
And what are we hoping to purchase in terms of technology? Is that like new computers?
it actually covers, this is gonna sound sad, it covers the cost of our fax machine.
Oh, we lease it?
No, like, we just pay for the DSL line,
Oh, the line.
the line.
Okay.
And the phone, it covers both of those things.
Okay.
And then maybe software and stuff like that. But those are actually like the two big reoccurring costs. Usually if we buy a new computer or something, someone like the Friends will fund that, or we'll find
Yeah.
some other resources for that.
How much money, aside from this, does state aid or grants and programs supplement the library budget?
I feel like last year we spent maybe $3,000 or $4,000.
We got state aid.
Oh, how much do we
we get from state aid
Oh, about $4,000.
a year?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's gone down recently. It varies from year to year.
Yeah, it's not
it's not
not
great,
as
right?
much as I
Yeah.
had thought. I thought it was higher than that.
Yeah, $4,049.
Okay.
And
But I actually have a handout for you from the state. About state aid, that explains the
thank you.
benefits of being certified.
Thank you.
And are we presently certified?
We are certified.
We are, okay.
very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. If we weren't certified, I think it would be really sad, because it means that the townspeople of Hatfield wouldn't be able to use any of the other area libraries like they can now. And I think people are very, very used to that. Like, you go to Forbes, you go to
Yeah,
Sunderland,
right.
they would be barred from using all of those libraries. Or maybe some libraries might elect to let them use the library at a charge, but it would be a pretty big deal.
Okay. If we decided that we had to keep you at a level funded budget, where would you find the approximately $1,600 to do that with?
I could cover that with gift money, or, we have fundraisers, we have the Friends, we have other
Okay.
resources, it would be okay.
This is completely micromanaging and really none of my business.
Oh, no,
But why do we have a fax machine in this day of
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same
I
question.
have to say that we're like the last lonely fax machine. It's sort of, people come like crawling in going, do you have the fax machine? Yeah, people still use it.
If they don't have a scanner
Yeah,
Poor
or email.
people.
people coming into the
Oh, you
library.
mean like citizens?
Yeah,
Could they go to Kinko's or what do we have now?
It's hard. I mean, Staples
Staples.
has even gone from Northampton. so-
Paradise Copies.
Paradise Copies is
Yeah.
the closest place.
Yeah.
Staples closed?
Yeah,
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
it's terrible.
I'm still
I
getting
realized
their
from the
emails.
technology budget, when I answered your question
Not
before,
all
it
of
also
them.
covers,
Northampton
like,
was out.
Northampton.
like the carbonite backup for my computer, like things
Yeah.
like, other things like that. So it's not $750 on a fax machine.
Well, that would be about right for, a telephone line, I guess. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's the fax, the telephone, the computer backup, and like the antivirus, things like that. I mean, it does kind of add up.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely. Can you just give us an idea of the kind of traffic flow you see through the library? Do you see the increase, same,
Yeah, we have had just a huge increase in teenagers. We actually doubled from 2 years ago to last year, and then we almost doubled again. There's just like a ton of teenagers who come after school and hang out. I mean, there's not actually like large quantities in terms of like, there's maybe about 5 to 15 of them, but they come almost every day after school. I think what happened is we opened up more afternoons. Now we're open on Wednesday afternoon and Friday afternoon. So I think it's just more consistent for them. Before that, we were only open on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, that now they can just come every day after school. And they liked it. They like to have some place to hang out. So I feel like that's the biggest increase in that. Other than that, things have been pretty much the same. We had actually dropped our play school story time. I don't know if there was just a demographic thing, but we had a real lull where we didn't have any little kids coming. We have a story time on Thursday mornings, and we've actually started that back up, and we've had good crowds for that too. So that was really nice.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
How's the building?
it's still standing. No, the building's great. Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you using Phil as, your
One of his guys was
resource?
just by today, and he was incredibly helpful. We're having an issue with the door. I don't know if you've been to the library, but we have these gigantic doors that weigh, I don't know how much, they're like this thick, and the hinges is like slowly coming down and hitting the floor, I think just sagging over the years, and he's great. He's gonna help us with that, so that was wonderful.
That's excellent.
Right. Good. Ed or Cindy from the Selectmen side?
Thank you very much.
Any questions? You guys good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
How about, yeah, go ahead,
Sorry,
Vince.
Go, keep asking.
I'm sorry.
No need to apologize.
So your summary sheet, where it says an increase of $2,297 in wages,
Yeah, my guess is that that's the
That's
typo.
wrong.
That's wrong.
not the,
And
not
that
the
could have
sheet.
maybe been, I don't know why that number's wrong. It could have been because I was like, didn't fix it from last year or something, like I just grabbed the wrong number.
Is it
Yeah.
possible, Marlene, to just ask Eliza to follow up with you on?
I have a note.
I mean, I could
double check the figures.
figure out the difference rate, like what it should actually say.
Yeah, that'd be helpful, but.
Yeah, well, you figured it out.
Oh, well, I did.
Really for,
It's the difference on your spreadsheet is $3,110.
That's probably what
No,
it
that's the expenses, I'm sorry.
Oh.
The difference on your spreadsheet is $4,295.
Yeah.
So you think that's more likely to be accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
For the wages, right,
$4,295.
right. And then with the $3,000 savings, if you will, or
comes-
reduction
Gets
on
us
the,
a little bit north of
like-
$1,500 increase, but
Total.
pretty close.
Okay.
Yep.
Pretty darn level.
yep.
Great.
Yeah, we would be totally fine with level funded, and then just some other year.
I'll ask every department the
Yeah.
same question.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's-
But we'll happily hold on to the 1,500 too.
We'll use it, we always overspend our budget, we're always getting money from other sources, so.
Right, unfortunately, great. Do you have anything for us? Questions, that is?
That was great.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for
Thanks-
all you do
thanks
for
a lot, Liza.
Hatfield.
Great library.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah, it
Liza.
really is.
So,
Next, let's keep rolling.
well,
Comes on age.
we're a little early for the COA, because
Are they
it's
here?
only 10
No.
of.
Oh, they were.
Anyone else?
Who's next? Board of Health,
No, I don't see Carrie.
town clerk.
Are you here for redevelopment, Chris? All right, I mean, because we'd be way early for that
I
one,
didn't
but,
receive a budget
Yeah, I
either
don't
from
have a
them.
budget.
okay, all right.
Whenever are we running early? This never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't we, we'll take a little break till the COA group has arrived.
Do you
so-
wanna talk about
The
Oh,
recommendation.
the
sorry.
recommendations
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
Finance
and
Committee
I
made?
was
Yeah,
looking for
good,
it in my
nice.
packet, and I don't
We can
find it.
Thank you. Yes,
I don't actually have a copy in front of
Did you
me.
receive it in your packet?
You're
I don't
already?
I
have it.
saw it somewhere, didn't I? Or I saw it in an email, I think.
Okay.
You sent it in the email, but I didn't see it in here.
Yeah, I didn't print it, but I saw it in
Yeah,
an
it
email.
was supposed to, should have been added to
Email
your
though.
packet, but I don't know where. Oh, there's just 3 here, okay.
That's all right. Well, they can read it and then we can.
Do you have it?
We all, I do not have it.
Yeah, we should be copies. Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
we're still alive.
Then I will go make you one. I'll share it with you, okay?
Oh, don't worry.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, we can share.
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
thought you had your own.
I thought you were going to
Okay.
make a copy. I was going to say, don't do that.
All right, so what,
So,
this is.
so the Finance Committee, we met on the 31st of January, and we decided as a committee that we would just make some general recommendations to the select board about, some of the financial issues that have been going on
Yep.
and what we see as possible solutions. So, number one, we have this termed as like general oversight. So we would like to see that the town invests authority and power in the town administrator to set expectations for and supervise any town department heads the select board so chooses. So there's a clear line of authority and accountability. In other words, the town administrator, everybody in town hall would answer to her no matter whether they're elected, appointed. That position would be the line of authority. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
Just 2 things. One is the town administrator in turn reports to the select board, but it just feels like it would be easier for people to report to one person than a committee of 3 people in a logistics kind of way. So ultimately, the select board has authority, but they can delegate that authority any way they want to. And so we would just suggest that you identify one person to delegate that to, so that people aren't trying to report to a committee that meets every 2 weeks.
Right.
Betsy's
Okay.
research showed that without changing the title to town manager, essentially the responsibilities could still be assigned by the select board.
There's no legal definition of a town administrator versus a town manager.
Correct.
All the names.
They're right, they're one,
So you,
whatever terminology a particular
You-
town wants to use.
Right, and you as
It's
the
about the
select board-
responsibilities.
right, and you get to invest that authority to whatever degree you want.
Our
Thank
second recommendation was we would suggest that we ask town meeting again to change the town treasurer collector position to an appointed position in order to expand the pool of candidates and allow the select board to hold the treasurer, well, in our case, immediately accountable for deliverables. So, probably nothing new. We've talked about this in the past, and we certainly hope we go forward with that.
Are you welcome to take, are you guys okay, like, taking questions?
Oh, yeah.
Had you thought at all about that as also not only making it appointed, but combining it with the collector position as
Yeah.
DLS
Yeah.
has? Okay,
Support that.
I think.
That's
yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Using
All
them
right.
kind of together.
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yep,
One thing that I think is missing that we began talking about, but we need to continue talking about, is our role in educating the town about this change before town meeting, so that we don't have the situations that we've had in the past where most of the town doesn't really see it until they get there, and then it's a big change to make. And so I contacted the State Ethics Committee, and for the Finance Committee, we could make a recommendation, send out educational material to town members, postcards, flyers, describing financial changes that need to happen, and advocate for them as a policy-appointed board, if we chose to, using our budget to fund such a thing, if we chose to.
okay. The third third bullet is, we would like you to consider outsourcing the town accountant position as Hadley does. We see benefits to that, especially after our meeting. It's hard to find, there's just not a lot of people doing public accounting, and it's kind of a small pool of people that we can go to.
Yeah, and the meeting, just so people understand, the meeting Daryl's referring to is the meeting that
With
he and I and Marlene and some of our financial team had with the state down in Worcester a couple weeks ago. And that's exactly what they said, was it's just municipal accounting is just sort of kind of going by the wayside, is basically what they said. I mean, because most people, or many places that have it, the people been there for so long and then they retire, and there's never been anybody sort of coming up the ranks. So yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
The next bullet on this general oversight is, when the select board is hiring to fill finance positions, please invite a financial professional to provide input in the selection process. Not that you guys or whoever's on the select board doesn't know, but sometimes when I was on the board, maybe I didn't have quite the financial background that I needed. So if I'm hiring an accountant, a treasurer, or somebody in that position, it would be helpful to
Makes sense.
have kind of a professional that could help
Guide.
guide to a good selection process.
Yeah.
Betsy,
Yes.
Sean?
Yeah.
Exactly that.
And then for immediate action, we hope you can identify some additional funding for temporary assistance in order to continue Justin Cole or Bay State Accounting support through the fiscal 17 audit, and provide town knowledgeable assistance to the accountant temporarily in order to track down accounting discrepancies. If we could find, and I don't know if such a person exists, but, somebody that has kind of a good knowledge of the town that might be able to work in help with the accountant in tracking some of these discrepancies.
Yeah,
Did
it
I
just
say
seems-
that right?
Yeah, it just seems like doing the research is time consuming.
Right.
On your recommendations, do you have any timelines on when you feel the select board should put some of these recommendations into progress?
We could add that.
Yeah,
We didn't
could.
do that, but we're.
Well, the immediate action is pretty much what
On
we
the-
really
on-
think you ought to.
On the other ones, as far
On
as...
the other ones, speaking for myself, moving forward towards town, I think we ought to be very proactive about making some of these changes. I mean,
I would say by town meeting.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, by town meeting, that would be your desire to get all this,
right.
Well, and part of that is because some of these need town meeting in order to move forward.
Absolutely.
So I would say that, May is,
And we do recognize, and, some of these are gonna cost us more money, and I know the town probably doesn't wanna hear that, but, to put give the town administrator position more authority like that, it's gonna cost us more, but I think in the end, the cost benefit is gonna be there, and certainly, we've gotta get our financial house in order, and I think these things would go a long ways to helping us get there.
Yes.
Yep. And professionalize, town hall in a lot of ways as far as a clear chain of command. There's a supervisor, like at any job, make that clear. But I'm looking at all these recommendations, and actually I don't think any of them require town meeting other than the change of the town treasurer collector. But couldn't you outsource the accountant position? You guys hire the accountant, correct?
we do.
So I don't see why you couldn't. So yeah, all those other changes seem possible.
Right.
well, we are going to be meeting with Bay State. I assume we can probably find out costs, right? And get a better idea of what it's going to cost us, if it's going to be cheaper, if it's going to be more, or whatever.
As a follow-up question to the base, considering Bay State, I'm sorry I didn't ask this at the beginning of your meeting around 5:30, but has anybody actually asked Bay State if they have staffing available to support us? Has anybody talked to them yet?
Well, I don't want to speak for Marlene, but we have asked that question in the past, which isn't to
Right.
say that they have it now,
Okay.
but they have, their business, their company is more than just Justin Cole.
Right, it's a higher
They-
level of
they-
support.
Correct. They actually have people who have been treasurers and collectors and accountants, et cetera, so.
And Justin continues to work with the accountant on the unapply. It's the support in order for him to really focus or designate most of his time, or dedicate most of his time to the unapplied revenue. It's the accounts payable and the clerical work, data entry and following up on bill schedules that are incorrect, and
Right.
that's where he needs the support.
Okay.
I think that in your first statement, then we'll COAs here, it's almost 7. I think your first statement here regarding the town administrator, so of course we would have to, work that into a negotiation. And I think some of that is happening now, but not in an official capacity. So certainly point well taken. Yeah, so thank you for all of these
Yeah.
recommendations, we get it,
Well, and part of it, I mean, we've kind of been working together, it seems like all year on these, and we feel it's important that townspeople know that, we are really trying to come up with solutions that are gonna put us in a better place.
Right, and I think that as I've been through it a few times now, you've been through it many times, Darryl, some of our, Sean's, some of us have been here a little bit, but, the good news, I think, for town meeting, when we get there, is we're gonna have some options. And ultimately, it's up to, and we're gonna give a reason why we support a particular option or maybe over another.
Right.
But, the townspeople are gonna have to make that decision. So it is up to us, as Sean alluded to earlier, as far as education. Here's why we're doing it, and here's why, and here's what it could cost, or will cost, or whatever, and here's,
Yeah.
you folks decide. I mean, that's what we're here for, to sort of offer up the options and let the folks decide, so.
If we do move forward with the treasurer collector, proposing the treasurer collector change at town meeting, I think we might even want to hold a meeting just to invite the public to speak to that. Again, some proactive, basic community organizing steps so that we know what the counter arguments are and maybe even reconsider our position based on what we're hearing from people before we get in the meeting.
Yep. Okay. Did you have something, Sue?
Yeah, actually, I do. Also,
Yeah.
just a little bit of the, on the first one, I know we had talked about that this summer a little bit, and I know Betsy, you had brought it up sooner, and I think it's really good to finally see that in writing. I'm really happy with that. Second one, if we mentioned earlier, if we do go with Bay State Municipal on that one, I'm only concerned that if the third bullet, if the accountant goes to that also, then there's nobody here locally, that position that just seems has been like the lost child all along the way. It never got the help we promised it. It had to go back 3 years before, and I believe he has Marlene, 3-year contract. I don't know if that makes a
Right,
difference.
and
Yeah.
that would clearly be something
think-
that you guys would have to figure out, and, in negotiating with the Bay State or somebody else that we're outsourcing some of this, they may request that we have, I'm gonna call it a clerical type position, or somebody that's doing data entry on a daily levels, because you're right, we're gonna need a contact point.
I just felt that position was set
Yeah.
up to fail. When it started, the person that filled it had to go back like 3 years,
Oh,
and then
yeah,
never got the
no.
help, and then didn't get the
Clearly.
information.
Oh,
And I just,
yeah.
I
And-
don't feel
and-
real good about that.
Yeah, and none of this, I mean, we're clearly not trying to throw stones or.
This isn't personal.
This is
it's
not
business.
personal. We see this as, we've gotta do something the town needs to do something to
To make the job doable.
make the
Right.
job doable.
And I do think, and we're working on sort of closer oversight, because I do have some concern about the Derek, or the accountant situation, in that we did hear from him that he needed more help, and we as a finance committee did do our role of allocating that money. And so there does need to be a point where someone is following through and making sure that he got that help. And so it's disappointing that that didn't happen, because almost anything we decide won't matter if there's no one actually following through with it, so.
Thank you. I don't have any other
Yeah,
questions. Thank you.
thanks. I mean, and certainly this is a conversation. We hope it goes forward as a conversation.
Yep.
We can continue to
We
have.
appreciate
and
it.
We, with the community, with everyone, so.
Thank you. No, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the efforts. Okay, sorry, ladies. It's a little after 7, and the Council on Aging is going to be presenting their budget request. Welcome. Hello, Carrie.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So Council on Aging, do we want to just start on where do you guys want to start? Does it really matter?
Does it, you just go through and give us your spiel and.
The highlights, if there's
Get the
changes up or
highlights.
down, maybe that's a good place to
So
start.
we'll start on the expense page.
Sure.
Because that's usually the easiest
Okay,
for discussion purposes. We,
Looks like postage is up a little bit.
postage is up, which is normal. We always go up a little bit on that. And we also have more seniors now, so our mailing list is a little bit bigger than normal, and that always goes up every year for us. So postage is a normal increase for us. Dues, we were short last year because of increases for dues that are required. So we went up a little bit for that, just to be able to cover our bases for that this year. And then, special events, and I'm sorry, because I have to refer to Jane, we went up because we lost grant, yeah. So we lost grant money that we used to get, which would cover some of our special events, so that's why we're increasing by the $100, is to be able to cover the couple times a year that we do, like our volunteer recognition things, and, and, our holiday parties and stuff like that is usually covered by grant money, and we don't have that because we lost a grant.
Okay.
So, it's not a huge increase, across the board if you look at it, but it's still an increase, obviously, so.
Right.
As for, sorry, we'll go back to van drivers for salaries. We kept this the same. Obviously, I don't know if you guys will or won't do a COLA. That's usually obviously up to your discretion, so we just left it as how you guys went with it next year, or last year.
Okay.
Figuring that if there's an increase, it's gonna come from the COLA.
So that's pretty much level.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
Yes,
right.
it's level. We didn't make changes, and it will only be, but I didn't really count on a COLA, because last year you guys did a 3 and a 2 or something, depending
Right.
on the hour, so I wasn't gonna play games with the papers and screw up any numbers, so we
Okay.
decided to just keep that straight. And then, the administrative assistant, the hourly rate stays the same. Again, it's level funded, and, the only thing we're asking for the director, again, is the $2 increase to try to get her position up to where, on average for towns our size that have council and aging directors, we've talked about this a couple of years in a row now, is that we're trying to get her pay, or the position's pay, up to where it should be. And especially for somebody who's been in the position 28+ years and being underpaid from what the average is for a person in that position currently. So we're looking for that $2 increase. It's well-deserved with Jane being in the position. I know we've talked about this before, that we have the range and so on and so forth, but I personally feel that if we have a range like we do in this town set up, because we don't have a step program, that people who have the years in which she does should be at the top of the range and not at the bottom of the range or only a couple cents more or a dollar more. That's just my belief in that the town, I wish the town had set, when we set the range, or the ranges, that we also had put into effect a step program like most places that have that you go, first year you make this, and then you go up, and then when you're at your max, except for getting COLAs or whatever that the town's willing to do at that point. So in this case, since our town has not adopted having a step, I just really feel that it's well-deserved. Jane busts her hump for our seniors in this town. If it wasn't for her, our senior program would not be what it is today. And our seniors are over a third of our population, and everybody uses the resources in some way, shape, or form, and it's because of what Jane has brought it to. And it's a well-deserved, I think, a $2 raise, and I know the rest of the board thinks it also. So I'm hoping that we can figure out to do the increase. You guys can decide to vote for it at that point and finally at least get the position to where it should be. Like, we've done the research in the past, and Hadley and other towns are actually paying their directors more than what we're asking for. So that's it. That's our.
What's Hadley pay?
Honestly, off the top of my head now, I don't know, because we did the research like 2 years ago, and we had all the numbers, so I'm sure by now it's increased more, and we are trying to get the position to be at the $25 2 years ago.
Okay.
And, and asking for a big increase, I get it. I understand that trying to look for a substantial percentage increase is a large thing, so we're breaking it down over the years, and I just really hope that this year we can get that last $2 and get it there, and then after that, it's expected that it's the COLA increases and.
But this is based on your research of
Correct, and
of
I
areas.
don't know,
Okay.
Sean, if you have it, I don't have it with me, I'm
Yeah, I'm
sorry.
looking for
I
your
remember it from a couple of years ago.
We did do it, we compared
Yeah.
it to a couple different towns that were of our size
Yeah.
population, just so that we weren't basing it off of, ridiculous numbers, truthfully. And on average, it was anywhere from $25 to $27 an hour was the going rate, and so that's when we decided. And if we looked at our range that was set up in the town, the high end of the range was 25 and change, I think. So that's why we were trying to get the position up to that with the time in and the dedication and all that stuff. It just.
So, all you're asking is make it comparable, that's it.
Correct. Make it
That's all you're
comparable and
asking.
make it
Yeah.
where we think it should be, so.
Yeah.
Other than that, unless you guys have questions, ours budget is, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I do have a question,
Sure.
not on the increase, I understand that and agree with that. But I'm not sure if I'm missing something, if you could go back to the part-time employees, the driving page. Second page there.
Go ahead.
Okay, one van driver at 20 hours plus a week is 13,000, right? Plus? Okay, next line, 20 to 25 hours a week, does that mean the 5
People the 5
total, 20
part-time
to 25
total,
hours a week?
right?
But if 20 hours a
One
week
full-time.
comes to 13, how does it come to 24,000 on the next line? There's something, okay, good.
What we have
Thanks.
is, we have one 20-plus driver, okay? So what we do is, when we went for this position, it was 20 hours plus, but it sticks around the 20 hours. So that is considered a full part-time, or whatever they call it, a benefited position. What we also have is part-time drivers, because when that driver is driving, we have 2 vans out there every single day. So we use part-timers. So we have 5 part-time drivers. So while, let's just say, the full-timers working 4 hours per day, the part-timers are filling in.
The other 4 hours.
He can't drive 2 vans. He can't,
Right.
he can't do with the
Right.
scheduling the way it is. It's the most efficient way to do it.
So your
Because they're
part-timers are
hourly.
also part of the full-time?
Excuse me?
No?
No, so the 24.
I know what you're
so
saying.
I get where you're coming to, but.
2 vans
We
with 2
they're 2
part-time
separate
people.
line items though,
Yep.
so then the part-time driver who currently is Glenn Zigmont is the first line. He's the one person with the $13,592 for the year. And then the next one down, we have 5 separate people who fill in the hours when we need them at that 1307, which totals the $24,000 for the year, because that's how many hours they make up, or that's where the money comes from out of there.
Well,
So
then
then
I-
if you go to the bottom, it totals that 38,023, so it's both of them combined together.
Right, but if the first line, 20 hours equals 13,000 at that rate, then 20 to 25 hours at that same rate should equal about, do you know what I'm saying, why I don't see it?
Oh, yeah, 'cause-
Yeah.
I get what you're saying now, I'm sorry.
I can't tell you how many hours that the driver's gonna drive, they're paid hourly,
So it's
okay?
not 20 to 25 total then?
No, it could,
Okay.
one week,
What does it say?
5 drivers, 1 week could drive 10 hours, okay? Because we're filling them into slots while the other driver
Okay.
is driving.
Yeah,
You can't drive
you don't have to
2
finish
vans.
there. That's what I was trying to figure out, because I didn't know if they
Or
were
they could
wrong.
be driving 20 hours a
Yep.
week, the 5 drivers. Whenever we need
So
them.
it's not the total, because that's what I asked first, was it the total, and it
doesn't-
said,
no,
yeah.
it doesn't
Okay.
jive, the
Yeah.
numbers do
Got it.
not jive.
So
here.
really, you
Thanks.
should just cross out the 20 to 25.
Exactly.
Yeah, we could take the hours out and just say 5 people with that salary line and leave it at that,
You would make it.
at the hourly rate.
Right, because then
we don't
we're
have to
all
worry about
sit
it.
here and
Yep.
say, 20, just like Cindy, 25 times 13 does not come up with 24, so,
Thank you very much.
okay,
Got it.
no. So, I'm gonna ask the question that I'm gonna ask everyone, if we level fund your department, what would you do? Where would you find the money? And the possibility of level funding, from my personal perspective, is pretty high right now. I don't see a lot of growth in town. I don't see that taxes are gonna increase a lot. We've got some financial things that have got to get figured out. We're gonna have to be even more conservative on our estimates when it comes to state revenue and excise, et cetera. So, given that, I think that we're gonna have to be, at least in my opinion, the possibility that we're gonna level fund a lot of budgets this year. How would that work? I know that on your expense line, you were the dues that were short, you know, I mean, we don't want you to be short dues.
Right.
But anyway,
I mean, I don't want to speak for Jane, but I guess if we have to, I mean, if we have to go level funded with the postage, then it just truthfully means that we're gonna have to take out one of our mailings, one of our letters of the
Right.
year. And we've been discussing that anyways, of delaying one this year because of the renovation stuff and knowing what the future is gonna bring for that of a timeline. There's no sense in Jane truthfully right now sending out a newsletter to all of our seniors with programs and what's gonna happen until we know when those changes are gonna
When and
happen.
where.
So we were just, she and I were discussing the other day, and I know she and Cookie have discussed it, is maybe we won't send the one that's now. So if we don't send one currently, then that means we're gonna delay it and send it a little bit later, then that means we're not sending out 4 mailings this year like she usually does a quarterly. So, I mean,
okay.
it can, if we have to make it happen, we can make it happen and just do like one less newsletter where then the postage is less than what we normally would need.
I mean,
As
aside from
as our events,
yeah, I mean.
I mean, again, if we have to not do an event, we have to, but on the flip side, everybody really enjoys those and they are, I mean, we're talking about 2 times a year that we really do those events and they're highly attended. So I would hate to see those go, but again, if times are tough and it has to happen, then we have to make adjustments and it is.
I would hate to see it go too. and
But
I
it is what it is. I
but-
mean, we can't, everybody that pays attention to what's going on in the town knows that things are tough. So we gotta do what we gotta do.
I would just as soon prepare for the worst and hope that we find a little extra money and, you know, and that we can use in various places, but.
And you can, I think, as a community, maybe we could come up with, if needed, that, you know, $100 for those extra events. I mean,
yeah.
certainly
Right.
call on me.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
They just need a location for them.
Yeah, it's manageable,
Information.
yeah.
We've been working on that diligently. Jane and Cookie have been working on figuring out where we're gonna move stuff so that we don't have to get rid of programs and services that we offer to our seniors currently that are high attended and figuring out what we're gonna do when our space is being worked in.
being worked.
So the work has been done diligently and with great actually support from lots of different people in the community. So it's not a bad thing. We've gotten a lot of support from different groups in different places and ideas, and it's just checking them all out and figuring out what we can do.
What might work, right?
And knowing when the timeline's gonna be, which obviously nobody knows that yet either, which is fine. So it is, we can't do anything until everybody has the same answer, so.
And let me say, we certainly do appreciate all you do. We appreciate all you do, Jane, for the town, for the elderly, as some of us are getting a little closer to that, we're appreciating it even more. Yeah, I know. Yeah, not me. So, anyway, thank you, and we'll do our best, but, you know, those are some of the budget constraints that we see as issues for the year.
Understand.
Thank you.
And any questions for us, or?
I'm next for the Board of Health, so I'm not gonna go anywhere.
All right,
Leaving.
thanks, Cookie.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Unless you were gonna take a break, but mine's simple.
We're good if you'd like to, you're flying solo on this one?
I am flying solo.
Okay. Hit it.
So I'll start at my expense page. We have not changed anything. It's level funded across the board.
That was easy.
Yeah, it's the first page. Sorry, it's backwards. So we did not increase anything, and nor do we need to. Just some of the items for those that may not know, for like that are new or whatever. Our Sharps container program is a very big program that's going very well in this town right now. So the Board of Health purchases the containers, and then people come and they get them for free and can use them at home, and then they bring them back, and then we ship them off, and we pay for the shipping to send them to a company who takes care of disposing them. So we've done, with the support of the fire department and the police department, which I cannot say enough about. Both departments are so helpful with us because of the fact that they're here full-time. The officers and the fire chief and the deputy chief have been so good about getting containers to people. They can knock on the door and the police will go next door and grab the containers for them. They know where to leave them. So it really has become a great program. So we had moved money around a couple of years ago just to put a line item for that specifically so people knew where the money was going. But anyways, so with that and then the drug take-back box that we have now too, we've really done well with people being educated in the community to bring that stuff to us and not to be throwing into the trash or disposing of it wrong. So it's turned out to be a great program, and we can afford it, which is great. With the first year we tried to get a
Who do
grant.
people turn it into?
The fire department. Oh, you mean when they bring their containers back?
Yeah, like if I got a pile of old prescription stuff that I want to get
I'm sorry.
rid of.
So the prescription part of it, yes, there's a box right inside the police station. When the police station is open during their business, so 6 a.m. when Chief DeKoschak gets here, or 5:30ish,
Right.
until when Officer Reddick goes home, which is like 1 o'clock in the morning, the station door is open, you walk right in and it's right inside to the right-hand side. There's a green box and you open up the container, you put your meds inside and you close it and it goes down and it's all secured. The box is secured to the floor and it's cameraed. So then Sergeant Phillips, I believe, is assigned to it and he cleans out the box, secures it all up, and then Hampshire County Sheriffs come and they pick up the boxes and they take it back as I would call, and correct me if I'm wrong, like more like evidence, not evidence, but they take it and they secure it and it gets returned to wherever they take medications to do that.
Yep.
So it's a great program that got on a couple of years ago here. So between that and the Sharps program, it's been a great take back.
Great, thank you.
Carrie, what does the travel cover?
The travel covers, we have a conference in the fall that goes to the Cape. That's for the Board of Health specifically. It's every October. So there's that, and then, otherwise, we don't put there's no in-town travel expenses for like Title V inspections or anything like that. And truthfully, I don't even believe that Charlie, our health agent, he's never put in for, like travel for court or anything like that either. It's kind of considered part of the job and part of the pay. So it's there. But on average, I think we maybe use half of it.
Okay.
And I can't swear, I honestly don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't use the travel money, so.
professional services?
That is for our attorneys for going to court. Which I like to say that our town council has been wonderful for us. We had a couple cases over the summer that he got us back all of our attorney's fees were part of fines in the settlement of our cases. And
Actually,
so
those charges, Carrie, come out of the legal budget.
we have,
He bills the town for his services on a monthly, well, quarterly, he tries to do quarterly.
Well,
And
then I
and that
don't-
covers all legal services for the town.
I thought it came out of our thing, but then when the money's
You
come
get a
back, it
bill
goes into
directly
the,
from him?
we don't get a bill because the courts send us a check.
Oh, to you?
We got a check and then I gave the check to and then it went back to the
Oh,
general
okay, so it
fund.
goes to the general fund.
Yeah, it goes to the
Okay.
general fund, so that's where I
Right.
honestly thought,
Yeah.
but, I mean, he's done really well for us, so truthfully, those haven't ever really been spent because he's gotten them back in the fees, or in the findings of the cases.
But you're saying, Marlene, that we don't need to have a separate attorney budget for the Department of Health?
Oh, for the Board of Health, no.
Board of Health.
No, there's a town council budget, and his
So there's
services,
$650.
well, I don't know what
My
exactly
understanding was that it
pays
was always
for.
for that. Again, I've never,
I
I
don't
mean,
No,
we don't,
I've heard in the past other explanations,
Okay.
I mean, because, things could come up with the Board of Health that require someone with some level of expertise. I don't know that it happens often.
right, we could use it there too, but it doesn't happen that often now that especially since we have a health agent,
It's only $650. It doesn't hurt to have it
No, I
sit
just wanted
there.
to know what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
so
I
my
completely agree.
understanding was it was for council, but
Yeah.
Sean is right, it could be used for that case too, if we had to bring in somebody like a nurse, like if we had to have a nurse for a special incident, if somebody had something that a nurse needs to come in and take care of that person, the Board of Health is required to hire an actual nurse to come take care of a certain resident that might have some type of sickness that has been identified to us.
Carrie,
That's not
question
legal.
for you. I believe there are some court filing fees that when the health inspector or health agent files some documents, there are fees associated with that possibly? That may be what.
And that could come from,
that's what
that
I'm
could
thinking.
possibly come from there too.
Right, that's what I'm
Services there.
saying, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Question.
It's listed here differently than it is on my bill schedule, sorry. Because there's different line items for the bill schedule,
Well,
but
I think that professional services can just pretty much encompass
a lot of things.
something that.
A broad
may-
spectrum
Oh,
of stuff.
Yeah, so, and you're not looking for an increase in it, it's level funded, so.
Yes. pretty much.
Anything else that I didn't
Not on the
answer for
expense
people?
side.
Okay. For us as the board members, obviously that's level funded, we're not looking for any increase. And last year I tried to increase the hours a bunch, because truthfully Charlie Kinnicky is our health agent, and he does a lot of work for us. I mean, a lot of stuff that, as much as everybody can say that we're elected officials, I can tell you, as an elected official, I'm in here 15, possibly sometimes 20 hours a week between doing stuff in the office or doing inspections in town, along with other members that are doing stuff. All three of us work. So it is having the health agent here who's retired and willing to do the hours a week for us is spectacular, truthfully. He takes care of all of our court stuff. Sometimes I've had to appear in court because of what the cases were, and I was required to be there, but otherwise he goes, he takes care of it, he takes care of our filings, he deals with the town council, and it's truthfully a godsend to the town. Comes with a lot of knowledge and background since he's retired from the state, and we couldn't ask for somebody better. With that said, we've always had it be an 8-hour position. I'm hoping, and again, I understand the budget crunch and crisis, but I'm hoping we could increase his hours to be 12 hours a week. He is doing, between inspections and all that stuff, it really is starting to add up that we're not accomplishing what needs to be accomplished at 8 hours a week. Like, he needs to be here a couple extra hours, and that's really where it lies. If you can't, we'll make it work. If you can, we would love it, because last year we couldn't.
So tell me in reality, how many hours a week does he work? Not what he gets paid for, but how many hours does he actually work?
How many hours does he work? More like 16, because he's working, he's
Yes.
working, he's doing stuff that he's not putting in on his timesheet that he's helping us out.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Which is why last year I tried to increase it to that and was trying to be reasonable about the numbers. And then again, last year I knew it was tight too, so it was hard. And so I moved some money out of my expense line because I had money left over at the end of the year, 2 years in a row. So I was like, well, if I move the money out of the expense line, at least it's helping a little bit. So the money, I moved $1,400 last year. $1,400, it's a big number, but it's not a big number in the overall scheme thing. But with that said, I hope we can do this, or even if we can increase it 2 hours to give him 10, anything to give us the extra couple hours with him is gonna be great. We are benefiting from it, but if we can't, we can't. I totally get that too.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Are the last 2 pages like identical? Other than the,
One's darker and one's lighter.
well, except for the
amounts.
intermittent employees amount. So, that's all.
Yeah.
Like, there's
What's
2
wrong?
pages that say the same. Are you, was
I
one
only have
of,
2 pages, so.
Yeah, we
so there are
have
2
Well,
budget
because I
requests?
screwed up. I messed up when I first submitted to Marlene. I did not realize that our intermittent pays last year, because you guys gave COLAs across the board. I didn't know that the elected officials got it. So when I submitted my budget the first time around, I submitted it with last year's numbers that I had. I never had the increase from the COLA increase. So then I got from the assistant the actual pay that we were getting, so I gave a second sheet to Marlene, which is why you have 2
All right,
sheets.
so
So the
for,
5,044 for like the chairman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
or-
yeah.
That should be the page you're looking at.
all
That's
right,
the dollar amount.
so I'm just, the last page of my packet is.
Sorry, I only have,
No,
I didn't know you had
that's-
3 pages.
No, I
okay.
thought that had been removed.
That's okay, I just want to make sure I was looking at the right one.
Yeah, so
That's
that
okay.
should, the 5,044
That's
and
the
then
right one.
4,000.
See, I read this stuff.
Exactly.
So the only one that you're looking to increase then is the health agent to
Correct.
go up 50% from 11,600 to 17,400, right?
Right, and it's a 4 hour a week increase.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
4
about
hours a
50%,
week.
yeah.
Yeah, about $4,600, $4,700.
But like I said, our
that.
original line item was 12,000, and last year I put 1,400 into there. So our line item was increased, or our line item for his position was increased by $1,400 from what it had been, because I moved money out of the expense line last year into there.
Right.
So about 6,000
Yeah,
increase.
so. That's all I have, unless anybody else has questions. That's pretty simple.
Thank you.
I don't.
I'm
Okay.
good.
You all set, Cindy?
All set.
Great, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen. So, Lydia,
Is there something else?
town
Town
clerk.
clerk.
Clerk and redevelopment, yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. You know, you post the times to give people a chance to be
boy.
here and schedule their folks that are part of those particular organizations. But sometimes the conversations don't last as long as you think, and I think we need to take another little break because we're about 20 minutes ahead of schedule until the next department
Is she here?
is till department come to see us. So, well, why don't you take? Yeah, it's all right. Okay, we have Lydia here from the town clerk's office to review the budget request. Take it away,
Do you all
Lydia.
have it in front of you?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I'll just go down it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Town clerk salary level funded. Town clerk part-time assistant salary level funded except slight increase of 197.31 due to FY18 hours were increased, but I believe COLA was only calculated on the previous hours, leaving the FY18 budget short for the 12-week coverage for 46 weeks at the 1829. So
It shouldn't
I'm
have been.
trying to just catch it up to where I think it should have been. It wasn't caught until after town meeting, so there wasn't a whole lot to do about it.
I remember
So
we
just-
went back and forth on that, and I believe, I'll double check the numbers. but
Yeah,
I believe
yeah,
that
I think it was just, so I couldn't pay her one rate for 6 hours and one rate
Right,
for
right,
another 6
yeah.
hours, so. let's see, town clerk expenses, I have to increase to cover expenses for 2 state elections in FY19. Elections and registration wages have to go up to cover 2 state elections for FY18. As I,
Nineteen?
my budget goes up and down depending on
Yeah,
elections.
Sure,
So
we understand,
unfortunately,
yeah.
FY19 contains 2 state elections that I know of at this point.
yeah.
Certification of the town clerk, treasurer, collector, you can decrease that because the treasurer is not eligible until 2020. And Oliver Smith elector, under the will, is level funded at $25.
Okay. Yeah, just just those the programming, those must have to do whatever to the voting machines to make sure they're
Right,
they're
right,
accurate.
right,
That's
because
the
I have
biggest-
to, I have to source that out to
Yeah.
ES&S and LHS,
Yep.
and they all charge for, ballot printing,
Sure.
coding the machines, and
Yep,
so the more elections you have, the more
yep, totally get it.
expenses,
Well, you want to make sure we get the votes correct?
and the town election's one of the more expensive ones, because we have to pay for the ballot preparation. The state, I don't have to pay for ballot preparation, because the state's supplying us, but, so.
Okay,
Okay. I mean,
just a double election year, I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of,
and,
you know.
Yeah, it's
so
just-
I can't even, we can't even bring up the level funded thing because you got 2 elections that got to be covered.
You're right, and unfortunately, you guys are
Yeah,
mandated by the law to
Yeah.
fund
No.
elections,
Yeah.
so, it's as level funded as I could.
Yep,
No, it's great. No, thank you.
and thank you for the breakdown, the cover page, that just kind of helps to sort through everything for, at least for me.
Are you gonna be short?
I did this a while ago, so it also helps me to remember what
Yeah,
I did
sure.
a while ago.
Are you gonna be short on,
May?
in May or in June?
I don't think
on
so.
your
I
assistant?
actually gave you guys back some money. The
Yeah,
only thing that I just, I've got like 11 people who have never registered their dogs. And this year, I'm actually gonna have them served with citations.
okay.
And so I'm probably gonna have to hire a sheriff, and it's gonna be like $500 and something to have them served, which we have a right to do. There's a $50 fine under the law and under the bylaws for not licensing your dog. These people have gotten notice upon notice upon notice.
Okay.
And, they haven't called, they haven't said, oh, my dog died, I've got nothing, so it's like, I'm done, so.
Okay. All right, well, because I was just gonna say, I mean, if it was an oversight in the budget with the assistant
It was just,
line,
yeah, it was just
then we could
197.31.
probably figure that out. I mean, I wouldn't want you to.
I think we're good, I think we're
Okay.
good, between, she's taken off some time and stuff like that,
Right.
so budget-wise, I'm gonna be fine, I'm not worried about it for this year, I just wanted to correct it for
Yep.
For next,
for
yeah.
next year.
Okay. No,
Okay.
I'm okay with that. It's easy.
Questions? Ed? Cindy?
Thanks, Lynn.
Can I go back to work now?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See ya. Going for it?
Yeah, well, take a chance.
All right. All right, so, Chris, if you come forward, please. So, the last of the budget requests for this evening on the schedule is the redevelopment authority. So,
But there is no paper budget?
Chris Smith is here.
Typically, personally, I wouldn't entertain considering a budget without a budget, but, personally, I just think.
Okay.
Yeah, but let's hear the comments, and then we'll take it from there.
The HRA has not been very active this past year. We got the center school done. We're looking at about 45,000 of new growth there. The only thing we see on the horizon is possibly the Steve Bull project out there on the Old West Riding Stable. I've been talking to Kyle. He says that's still very early in the whole thing. So right now, we don't see anything really on the horizon. If you leave $100 in the thing as a placeholder, take the 400 back,
Great.
Okay?
Chris, have you guys had a chance to talk about or think about the whole, the community, the affordable housing aspect of things. You know, we're trying to get that off the ground.
Right.
Steph Slish is still probably the only member. But, you know, I didn't know if there were properties, locations, anything like that that you think the redevelopment authority might be able to help with or to identify.
Well, just to kind of touch back on the Steeple project, which again is a mixed use.
Yes,
And Frank is talking about some of it being affordable.
yeah,
If he does that, that means the HRA can work with him on grants and other financial assistance. The new growth, of course, would be on the commercial side.
right,
but I
right.
think you get kind of a little bang of both, you
Yeah,
know?
that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, but you're right, the HRA does deal with the housing as well. But, you know, unless the town gets involved in a project for housing, that's where we could come into play. The HRA technically should be a very important part of the town because we can bring growth. But the economy is not showing a lot of that. You don't see, where you would see growth would be out on 5 and 10.
Yep.
You know, the HRA did develop a project idea north of CNS. A lot of that's been solar panels, but nothing wrong with that. And you're going to get a bang on that too, through income on personal property. So right now, out on Plain Road, you don't see much. There's another, that's all zoned industrial. The one piece you got, which is the library, or the book storage, I should say, is nonprofit.
Right, yeah, right,
So we didn't get much bang for that.
yeah.
But right at the moment, we're not seeing a lot there. We are fortunate in having Kyle, who is very interested in promoting commercial, you know.
Yeah, he's been great, and part of, you talked about Steeble, you know, part of it is we're still working with the legislators, our local legislators, to get that whole water and or sewer
Well,
going
the
out
sewer's
there.
critical, absolutely.
So, you know, should we be able to work on that and get that to come to fruition, I think that's just gonna open up that whole stretch down there, to your point.
And we've let Kyle know as soon as there's something that comes together.
Yeah,
That we should start talking, you
Yep.
know. And I know Frank personally, so he's had that property for a long time.
yeah, and he's looking to do something with it, so we just.
Finally,
We
yeah.
need to help him along as best
Right,
we
we
can.
do.
And, you know,
We do.
Yeah.
But we're available, but again, considering the financial straits, you know, there's no reason to keep 500 in there for now. Let's just leave 100 and if something comes down the
Can always
road.
come back and ask.
There's also, we can go to the state and we can get $2,000 very quickly if something should develop.
Yeah,
They have
right.
a quick grant, and if we need to go for another study, there's a potential for 50,000 if something were to come together. There's some matching part of it. But for now,
Yeah.
nothing
Okay.
right now.
All right.
I'm sorry to report.
Oh,
Yeah.
appreciate the update.
Yeah.
All right,
All right. Good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good on the
Thanks,
church,
Chris.
so
Thank you.
for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, that
For a couple
concludes,
weeks.
that concludes the
Next
financial
meeting's on the 28th.
plan. So, as a committee, hang on to these, please.
And you don't
Right,
have
is
the-
that what you wanted,
don't-
Marlene? Are you collecting these and adding new information to them? Do you want us to hang on to these, the blue folders? How do you want to do
You can
this?
hang on to them, and then going forward, just copies of the budget will be provided, and you can put them in.
And the
in
next
your
departments
folder,
we would
right.
put in there as well. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
We're
Betsy?
not going to give out a folder each time.
Okay.
Go
My
ahead.
question is, can we get these before the meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
So I just stop by and pick it up?
Sure.
What time is good, like the same day or?
Whenever Key has them ready, usually they would be ready on that Friday before. So the next meeting is a Wednesday. They would be ready that
Oh,
Friday.
okay, that'd be
Friday
great,
or
so then I
Monday.
can read it ahead of time.
Sure.
Thank you.
Could someone send just a quick email when they're ready?
Sure,
I can come by and pick it up?
absolutely.
Great. And actually, to that point, I really think we need to start holding the line on professionalizing some of this, you know, and not in any way to pick on you, Chris, but we need to start saying things like, if you're coming in front of us, you need to have what you're supposed to have. Expecting from employees that are presenting to us that they're presenting in a way that a modern employee would, you know? Like if we're looking at a full budget, I expect Derek to be showing me a PowerPoint describing what we need to know. You know, we've got to start really having high expectations for people if we're going to get the type of improvement that we need. I mean, this is, you know, a over $10 million organization, and we should start acting like it in a lot of ways. So I think that's our challenge this next year, is holding the line when it comes to that stuff. Thanks.
Okay. In the finance committee box, I had a budget request from the historical committee. Did you?
Oh, I have theirs,
You
yeah.
have theirs?
I'll
And
be
then I got
presenting
one
that on the
from the
28th.
emergency management director.
Mm-hmm.
Just one, and you've got that.
I have that as well.
Okay, I
That's
just,
next time. I think.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure that,
You can have the only copy?
yeah, exactly.
That would be a scary
That would be a very scary thought.
They know you, Daryl.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so, do you guys have any other questions or comments? And I'm only asking because we still have a few more selectmen items we have to take care of.
Yeah, I guess
Quite
the
a few.
only thing, and we
Yeah.
touched on it before, is, you know, and maybe it won't be ready for the 28th, but I really do think we ought to get the spreadsheet.
First crack at this.
First crack at that spreadsheet. Because then I think we can be really fair to the departments. We can tell them, hey, we really have to be level funded, or there's a little bit of flex, we've got some money to do some things. And because I know, like, when the school comes in, you tell the school, level funding is a big hit for the school. So, you know, anyway. So the more we know, the better.
Sure.
So if that's possible.
Well, I think that having the spreadsheet will at least show what ultimately was approved and for current fiscal year. So we have the real numbers to
Yeah.
work with.
That's
It
right.
might not have all been expended, obviously, but at least we know this is what was budgeted for each of the departments.
Right.
And then as we work for next year's, we kind of have a reference point. I mean, we got it here sort of in just a little bit of a breakdown, but you don't get to see the total number all put together type.
And would
That's
that
right.
include the money that some of the departments gave back when we were voting at town meeting to transfer money? Remember, we got
I
about,
do remember. About
Yeah.
$50,000.
$50,000.
50,000 back.
so, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
do.
Yes.
I don't know if that came off, I don't know that will have
shouldn't-
come off.
That shouldn't come off the
No.
budget.
I don't think that the
Okay.
spreadsheet we get is
Will
going to
be-
show those reductions
Okay,
of
that's
up to
what-
Yeah,
50,000.
no.
I don't believe it will.
Okay.
No, and it shouldn't. It's
That's not what
gonna
we-
be pretty much
right.
based on last year's budget.
Yes.
And, you know, and the sooner we kind of take a crack at some of the revenue lines, I mean, we've got a number from the governor.
You're talking about the spreadsheet, the budget workbook. It will show the those amounts that were reduced from the department's budget
Will it show what was, I'm
for
sorry,
for the current fiscal year.
will it show what was originally appropriated though, as well?
Uh,
Or somehow a note's got to be made that this department,
There
this.
can be a note made, but it has to because it affects the overall budget
Well,
for 18.
so theoretically,
Yeah,
wouldn't
but-
we be using what we ended up with last year?
Absolutely.
As our starting point?
That would be our
That's the
starting
one we
point.
want. We want
That's
the one
we
that
want.
when we went to town meeting, this was the
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, and the
You
only,
say when we went to town
Or
meeting,
the
First
approved
time.
one.
yeah.
Without any of these reductions.
we amended the budget, though. We amended the budget at the special
We
town meeting.
transferred money.
Right.
So you could add a
So we had to
column
correct it.
with the original
I
though.
want the original
Yeah,
budget.
add a column, I mean, Derek could just take whatever the column was before the special town
Yeah.
meeting and paste that into the current one.
I can do that. I can give you two budgets. I can give you that budget that we
Right.
approved at town meeting, and then I can have a separate budget
I-
for for 19.
Whatever makes sense. I think what we're probably all saying is that the departments that were able to give a little bit back for that special town meeting, we came right out and were right up front and sincere and serious that this is not going to affect your budget next year. So we want to make sure we've got the correct numbers in front of us on a
I
go-forward
understand that.
basis.
I understand that.
Okay.
And that financial summary page, though, those numbers are what, a lot of those numbers are what is on
Yeah.
the, thank you. I'm trying to think.
We know what you mean. I just don't want
The
to
recap, the
we just don't
recap,
want to
yeah,
shortchange
and
somebody
gateway.
going into this process.
Oh, right,
That's all.
right.
That's,
No,
I think
I
that's what we're all,
understand
yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah, and, it's always good to take a good look, because we know that we can add, approximately 2.5% of revenue
Levy
from
for
taxation,
capacity,
and
Right.
so once we start putting those numbers in, then at least we have a little better idea where
Well,
we're
as
gonna be.
That levy number on the front page, that needs to equal the recap
Yes,
sheet.
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why I'm saying
Yeah,
we
budget
do need
has
to.
to
re-
match.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. We just
I just want to know
want
what
to
I'm
get there.
looking
No,
at.
that was
Sure.
yeah, good point.
yeah. And we pretty much know what departments gave what money
Right.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yep.
I have a list of that.
Yeah, we have a list of that. We'll,
Okay.
I mean, in the ideal world, and I know we're not there yet, and I hate to keep mentioning this point, we'd almost be looking at real numbers, like so that we're all on the same page here. We'd be saying, okay, this is your last budget, making changes right there, like as they probably would at the school, if someone's getting up at the school and presenting on the budget, or any small nonprofit. So, I just think we need to head in that direction, embracing technology.
I've asked before to have an overhead projector. Maybe we can, I don't know if we can afford it, but you have an overhead projector and it just like at UMass on every office, they have one, and you plug your computer into it or laptop and away you go.
But every department that comes before us doesn't have the skills of making
Not
that
every department,
presentation,
no.
though, so.
I'm thinking
I mean,
professional level
you know.
staff, like accountants and people like that, I mean, I wouldn't expect a small committee or something,
Right.
something like that.
Okay. Do you folks have anything else?
No, thank you.
we're good.
Thank you
very much.
Yeah,
We
thank you very much. We'll
appreciate
see you in a couple weeks. Thank you again for the recommendations that you presented as
Yeah,
well.
and really, it's a conversation point, and we'd like to continue the conversation.
We may be having a conversation in the next week or so anyways about some of the changes that are now taking place here departmentally
Yes.
over the next week or so.
Right, have you, and probably none of those you're ready to talk about now?
Well, we
tonight.
talked, I don't know if you were here yet, before we sat with you guys, we're going to look to reach out to Bay State.
Good, okay.
We've reached out previously with some high-level questions.
Yeah.
But now that we're faced with the current situation, Marlene reached out to Justin. They didn't connect today, but we hope they will tomorrow or in the next day
Okay.
or two, so that come Monday,
And-
we're going to hit the ground running.
And we will be able to use the money that's left over in that salary line to.
I would think so.
To pay for these services.
I would think so.
So we can get this
Right.
work
Transfer the
done.
money at the end of the fiscal.
Yeah, we might have to
Yeah.
wait till,
Yeah.
how we do our thing in May, but, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
That's our,
Great.
that's our plan. That's how the three of us had talked about that earlier.
Anything we can do, let us know, thanks.
Shall do. Thank you,
All right,
guys.
Thanks.
All right. So we've only got, you all set to just keep rolling, or you need 2 minutes?
Just keep
Cindy,
rolling.
you okay?
I'm going.
Keep rolling? All right. So,
Moving along.
thank you to our Finance Committee friends and all the departments that came forward. Getting back to the Selectmen agenda, I think we're up to item number 12. I don't think I skipped
12.
anything, right? We weren't bouncing around too much, so. This is a request for a proposed solar project. The gentleman from Amoresco, am I saying that right? From Amoresco was here at our last meeting for a very high-level overview. We asked a few questions. They went back and made some changes, made some updates, and are looking to see if the town is willing to lease town property in order to have Amoresco have a solar project on site.
Right.
Did I say that?
He had answered
Surmise that?
some questions that
Yep.
had been brought up at the last meeting. He provided a copy, just a sample copy of a lease agreement.
Right.
And of course, that would be subject to,
Yeah.
negotiations.
Of course, yep.
With whoever, if the town were to lease the property, and town council would review it as well.
Yep.
There were questions about hazardous materials. He included a handout in his email, sort of a questions and answer
Sure.
sheet.
Yep, and let's just, for those that didn't see it last time and for our own clarification, so this is out, for, as far as the address goes, is out on, it's out on West Street.
It's out on
right?
West Street.
That's the location
It's
that
about
we're looking for,
20 acres of town-owned land.
right?
It's zoned outlying residential.
No, there was a couple questions on if the town decided to do this project, then I'm under the impression, first, it'd have to go out to bid.
Correct.
Correct.
Second, it'd have to go through probably the planning board.
Correct.
For their
It
approval.
will require permitting.
And then third, then they probably can install.
Right.
Right, I mean, so,
I think that the reason for this being on tonight's agenda, as we had mentioned to the gentleman, I apologize, I don't have his name.
Steve McDermott.
First, Steve, right, was that his inquiry was, would the town be interested in doing something with this? So I think really for tonight, we're not, depending how our conversation goes, we're certainly not voting to grant anything. We have to do everything you just said, Ed, as far as processes and bidding. I think tonight, it's all about, here's a proposal. Is the town willing to go into something like this in the future with town-owned land? That's, I think, what's before us tonight. Not a decision on what's going there, but
well, the question becomes, is that a decision that the board makes, or is that something that we put in front of the town?
But, and also, wouldn't it involve more than just those boards? The fact that it's on land where there's wells and, which feed our water supply. I think that's the big question for me, the location that they're looking at.
right. So, and that's fine, Cindy. I
Like, where are we? That's,
I think
guess,
tonight
yeah.
is we are interested in finding out more about what this project would entail, is what I think tonight is all about.
Okay.
Because they might come back and say, we're going to do this, and we would say, no, we're not going to do that, or we are going to do that, or we're
right.
agreeable to that. Ultimately, the planning board has all their regulations, restrictions, bylaw, that
Yeah,
a
I just
company
don't
would have
wanna-
to follow. yeah.
I don't want to give them any false impression that,
Totally
they're-
agree. No.
That's all.
This is just, we are
Because-
willing to hear more about it,
yeah.
is kind of what we would be doing tonight.
Because basically, it sounds to me like a great idea, but would have
You
some.
need to know specifics before you
Room to
really know.
negotiate
Yeah,
some prices for the town and that kind of stuff.
yeah,
so.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I did have a brief conversation with the planning board chair, and I think, it would be fair to ask planning board and conservation for maybe their input.
All
I was
those
thinking
folks.
conservation,
Right.
that's the one that was left out.
I
I was
talked
referring
to,
to.
and I spoke to Kyle, the building inspector, about it, who, on the surface, right now, without details, did not have
Right.
any sort of a concern about it from his perspective.
is true.
But again, I think that we're only going to know what we know, given the information we have, until we actually make a decision, if interested to do so, to say, yeah, we're ready to find out more, so. I, for one, personally, would like to find out more and see,
Okay.
see what's in it, but I don't know, Marlene, are you looking for a consensus or for an actual vote, or?
No,
I
I'm
don't know how
not
Ed's-
looking, I just,
Well,
if
I don't know how
you're
Ed and Cindy
interested in
feel.
just continuing to explore the opportunity, that's what it sounds like to me, that you'd like to explore,
Well,
maybe
if-
input, comments from planning board, conservation.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't explore, you're never going to have the whole story and find out the information.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, it's not committing us to anything other than we want more information.
All right.
So, that's, okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so.
Are you okay with that too,
This
Cindy?
will continue to be old business.
Yeah, kind of like we're not doing anything, yeah.
Yeah, right. More to follow, more information to follow, but yeah, okay, thank you. All right, speaking of power, we have topic Lucky 13, municipal aggregation status for the Colonial Power Group.
Yeah, that's just an update.
Yeah. I know they've been trying to
Colonial-
get us locked into a reduced rate, but
They've been monitoring the
yeah,
rates,
right.
and, as you know, we had some extreme cold weather there, and actually that resulted in higher prices.
Right.
Energy prices. So right now, they're continuing to monitor the rates, and they want to identify a savings for residents and small businesses. That's really an overall
Yeah.
benefit for a longer period
An
of time.
aggregation, right.
Right. So they just advised me that they will continue to monitor the market, and if the Board of Selectmen had any questions, I would certainly bring those questions to Colonial Power.
It's going to be 50 tomorrow. So, we appreciate it, and I appreciate the heads up. I know we were ready to meet, and I was going to come into Town Hall back in November. We were ready to roll, and the price just wasn't where they, or we felt that it was beneficial, so. I guess we'll just have to kind of wait for their direction
Wait
on
and
that, Marlene.
Okay.
Yep. Great. I think we had the unanticipated new business. You were actually able to add that yesterday, right? Which had to do with the resignation.
I'm sorry?
I'm just looking at the end of this. I think we're at the end of our agenda, right?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
always
do-
there.
I do have a question on that topic, though.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
About whatever we're going to do with it, about securing that office. And, we've got one person leaving. We may have another person or company coming in. What do we do to secure that? That's huge. That's our financial everything. And I think you got a recommendation, right, from the DOR?
Well, I had a conversation with Justin Cole.
Yeah, and
There was a suggestion made, yeah.
Right.
We're kind of in a, the last day on job, as we used to call it, is Friday. We've got the hearing on Beacon Hill taking place tomorrow, which will pass, we hope, which for our tax rate, and then to begin the process of processing the bills. What I suggested, we haven't spoken about this, but what I suggested to Marlene late this afternoon before our meeting was that I can come in, if you guys are good with it, and have a conversation with the person, while at the same time we're finding out what the process is going to be with Justin's group, like when can they hit the ground running, and see what makes sense for the town and for next steps.
Well, yeah, I think that's important, securing the office. I think it's important making sure that IT stuff's
Yes.
taken care of and all these things, and right, I agree. So how best can we do that? Or you're going to handle it? You're
I would like to have a
suggesting as chair
conversation
tomorrow or
morning.
tomorrow
Tomorrow
morning?
morning with a,
Okay.
with an exact, what's the plan for the next few days? So,
Right.
what's the expectation? I'd like to set an expectation, what our expectation is for the next few days. And then sort of get a feel for that conversation. And certainly as of Friday, we will have lined up, the necessary, made the necessary arrangements so that, like we do when any employee leaves, you collect the various ways to access things, the computers,
Yeah, but what
IT
about
and
now
stuff.
until Friday? That's my concern. Because I'm not sure, but does that, will part of that also include whether there's going to be any, I don't know, participation from the former employee in anything ongoing? Like we talked about the tax bills and everything.
Right.
And from what I understand, I don't know, was there an indication that she wasn't going to be doing anything with these tax bills?
She had said she would.
She said she would help, but.
Part of the conversation, if you guys, I'm not trying to talk you into anything, if you guys are comfortable with it, that I plan on having is to have ask those kinds of questions tomorrow.
That's what I want to know if that was going to be.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
Because
the main reason I want to go in.
because there was nobody in there for, what, 7 days, and then
Right, there was
like
a
3 or 4 days
illness.
later, there was, not in that seat, okay? I see what you're saying. There was nobody in that seat.
Yes.
For, out sick for 7 days or whatever, and then we got the resignation a few days after that, so. And I don't think, at this point, have you gotten the doctor's note that it
No.
would possible, yeah? Because anyone out more than 3 days has to have a note in order to come back to work also. So, just on top of that, I'm just concerned about the security portion of it. That's how I think.
I hear you.
You know what
Yeah,
I
I know.
And
And that's fine. I mean,
we do need another meeting soon, right? So we should set a date also for a follow-up on this conversation at another meeting.
I can-
If Justin's coming in, right? Maybe.
probably next week. I will fill Marlene in tomorrow
All right,
morning.
good.
Well,
And she can share that information with,
well, what's going on now? Was the treasurer in today working? Do we know?
She was in part of the day.
Part of the day. Working or,
I wasn't in, well,
You know,
I
meeting with people,
was
I
in
don't
the
know,
office. I
yeah.
mean, she was at her desk. I don't know what she was working on, but
it's all right, we don't. Nope, thank you. Thank you, though.
yeah, I'm just,
Well, if that's the case, then I can have tomorrow morning's conversation tonight
Okay.
on our way out.
because, you know, she wasn't in all day, or just for part of the day today. I don't know, you know, is she?
Cindy,
really
I
getting
hear
done? So
ya.
that would be part of it, I guess.
You know,
Do we need that?
I hear you. I feel that we're in a little bit of a
Bind.
bind. It's a timing issue with things, you know.
Yeah, I understand. I know
so
Maureen
I
spoke with the town attorney today, too. so-
Yeah.
or yesterday.
Yesterday, so
Yeah,
I
we're trying to
know-
cover all bases and do it the right way and protect ourselves and.
Well, that's,
and,
yeah, the
you
big
know.
part is the protection.
Yeah, yeah,
Protect yourselves, be professional, and,
right,
yes.
all together.
So can you let me know what happens tonight, then?
Pardon?
If you're going to meet tonight, would you let us know tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll
Send out
send
an
Marlene
email
an
or-
email or call her later if I, yeah.
We'll know if it's secure.
Yep. Think you know.
That's all I got.
Oh, under old business, you know, we were talking about the state funding and Baker probably giving some more money with some of the projects. I don't know if Phil's been able to entertain any possible grants or who we use for grant writing, because I think we sort of missed the last one, but I think they applied now for this one for Stibel, right? So I don't know if there's any other, if there's any other grants that we can apply for our infrastructure or sewer or whatever. So I don't know if Phil could possibly get back to us with
Yep.
an update on if there's any grants out there to help us with our upgrading our sewage treatment plant, putting in some water sewer projects, et cetera, et cetera.
The, and yes, he should. We do utilize our engineering consultant, Mike Ohl. I forget what company it is, but that's,
CEI.
pardon me?
CEI.
Yes, yeah, CEI. And they've done the water project coming up past CNS, and they were also putting together and met with us, Cindy was here for that, right? When we met with Senator Rosenberg's office and Representative Cocott was here and some members from Stiebel and some other businesses, that consultant or the engineer that works on behalf of Hatfield, Mike Ohl, was here as well. And he's, because of his background in engineering, et cetera, can put all the documents and pull it all together. And he works with Kyle and Phil and everybody. So to answer your question, yes,
But
we
does-
have somebody
okay,
that does
to
all
further
that.
that question,
Yeah.
do they actually contact Phil and say, hey, there's going to be a
Yes.
grant out there? Okay.
They do.
So they will give them an update on
Yep.
possible monies for grants.
Correct, and
Okay.
Phil also has some connections within some of the state offices, given that some of those people in those positions are from Westfield. So that has helped us in the past, and we hope that's going to help us in the future. Along with Representative Cocott was great, and Senator Rosenberg's
Okay.
staff that was here. So yeah, it continues. It just,
All right.
yeah.
Speaking of that, the DPW director used to come to the meetings. Because that's like such a huge part of the budget. Does he not come
I think it
anymore for
depends
a
what's on the
reason?
agenda. I mean, we do the same with the principals. They don't come to all our meetings. It all depends what the superintendent has on the agenda for the school committee meetings.
Oh, school committee, I'm gonna go. I never
My
saw
other hat,
principal here.
that's my Monday hat.
Okay, no, it just
But if
seems
there's
that
something in particular, absolutely.
Yeah, it just seems like there's something all the time, but,
Yeah,
Or he could
Yeah.
at least send, if he's not going to be here, send a report of, an update on what he's been doing, or something's coming down the pike, or problem that they had, et cetera, et cetera.
right.
So we can
Yeah.
keep everybody in the loop on what's happening. I think that'd be nice anyways.
That's
Yeah.
that's fine. Yep.
sounds good.
That's it for me.
That's it.
Just looking for clarification.
Marlene.
So I understand that the town clerk is looking for the board to take a vote to, and.
Yes,
And
right.
so I'm just thinking it may not hurt to just do that. I understand that it has to happen. So I understand where you are
I certainly don't
coming
mind
from.
taking a vote. I don't know that we need to, but if it's going to
Okay.
be that simple, I mean, I'm not going to, it's not a big deal for me. I think we just have to move forward, that the position will be vacant, therefore you need to fill the vacancy at the next
Right.
scheduled
And I should
election.
have brought that regulation with me.
But that's okay, so if you,
Yeah, because there's no changes,
The-
so it would just
right.
fall like it always does, yeah.
so I guess, I mean, I'll make if Lydia's looking for a motion, I will make a motion that she just wants it for these two particular seats, right? I mean, we could do all, okay, so that the remaining term for the Town of Hatfield treasurer and the remaining term for the Town of Hatfield collector be on the May 2018 ballot. I don't know, I would, well, so we need a second. And then
Second.
we can discuss it. So the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Well, I mean, I don't see a problem with it, because it sounds to me, the way I understand the process is, it has to go on there by law.
Right.
So
It's a
I don't know why we,
vacancy.
I mean,
I
on
don't-
one
Yeah, so I
hand,
don't- but-
if
I
it
don't-
goes
She
by
wants
law,
it.
why does,
Yeah.
I would
do you
just
have, but if
Yeah.
it makes whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So I think we're all saying the same thing. I guess the only thing I wanted to add to that for the conversation is this vote, at least on my behalf, is to support the town clerk by fulfilling her need to have it. It's not necessarily my, how I'd like to necessarily see the town move forward as a whole, but that's a whole nother conversation, so.
Yeah, that
so
nothing's changed at this
nothing-
time.
Right. So-
The
but
law
nothing's
says we have to
changed.
do it,
The law's
so
right.
She's
that's
prob-
why we're
She's
doing
probably
it.
anticipating getting a lot of questions on it.
Sure.
That's probably
Yeah.
why she wants to say it that way.
Yep. I think that we also, though, Marlene, if you don't mind, when you talk to Gary over the next few days or a couple of weeks, maybe just run that question by him. I mean, I think we're all saying the exact same thing, and that is the answer.
Right.
But just in case there's something, just, you know, okay, thanks. So, motion's been made, seconded. Is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
John, thank you very much. Appreciate it.